Hello guys, this is your Naruto Addict 2.0 friend and we are back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto survived the deadly rain apocalypse? Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. You enjoy it? He asked the teen. What? Rasmus looked at Martin confused. Watching us, Bella and me last night. Rasmus looks down. I've never seen her like that before, it made me feel strange. It made you feel strange? You mean horny? Is that what it is? You can't be serious, Martin says, but as Rasmus looks at him he can't help the sinking feeling in his gut. You were masturbating. You have to know what it is to be horny. Masturbating, Rasmus asks and Martin groans. Touching yourself, he says and Rasmus flushes. I only feel like that when I think about Donna. Don't tell Simone, please, she'll yell at me. She did last time. She said it's wrong that I'm not supposed to do that but I couldn't help it. Jesus, look, it's not wrong. It's perfectly healthy. God knows I did it a hell of a lot before Belle and I started having sex. You and Donna are married and having babies. Rasmus said heartbroken. No, shit, is that how your sister explained it? Simone said I didn't need to know more than that sex is what two married people do to have babies. Fuck, listen, sex isn't something shared just between a married couple. It's a way to share yourself with someone else usually, hopefully with someone you love. Like Donna. Yes, I mean no. Look, Donna is my girlfriend. If the rain hadn't happened then maybe the two of us could have been married by now, but it did. I don't think there is much of anyone getting married these days. Just look, I know you have feelings for Donna. I also know that you've spent most of puberty apparently locked in a bunker with no one but your sister and an old crush on Donna. Martin would go on like that for the next half hour as Simone prepared for them to leave for their journey to Sweden. Just outside the bunker, Rasmus couldn't help the uneasy feeling raging within him, screaming that something was wrong. Simone, Donna is meeting up with us once the others fall asleep, right? Rasmus, for the last time, yes. She said she'll leave when they switch guard duties. She even has her things set to go. Simone lied as Rasmus nodded his head believing that Simone knew about her truck and trailer. Do you think we can make it without the others? Rasmus asked, worried for Donna as he remembered what Martin had said about the people in the city. She's coming alone. Yes, of course we can. We'll be fine, Rasmus. Come on, let's go. The city is dangerous. What if we meet people there? We just have to get through unnoticed. We'll reach the next bunker before dark. We'll be safe there. I don't like it. Simone, we should wait for Donna. Something is wrong. I know, but we're going to make it. You and I. Inside the bunker. MGH, Lee groaned as she stretched from the cot she laid on with Bella. Who's playing music? Boys. Belle groaned as she lifted the pillow from beneath her and used it to cover her face as she turned over, throwing the blanket over her head for good measure, sending Lee into a fit of giggles. Belle let a smile slip onto her lips before burying herself into the quilt she'd kept in her pack until she was a firmly wrapped and tucked belladonna quilt burrito as Lee slipped her shoes back on and left the room. Where are Rasmus and Simone? She asked Martin, who was playing table tennis with Patrick, as Ida watched on, after looking around and not having found them anywhere. They left for Sweden, to find their dad. Martin tells her, shaking his head. Ready? Patrick asks Martin. Yes, their dad is in Sweden. Lee put her hands on her hips as she had seen Belle do so many times before when she wanted an answer. Does it matter? Yes. They shouldn't go without us. They can't make it on their own. They can. We're not going. Not going where? Belladonna asks as she pulls her hair up into a ponytail. What's up? Beatrice asks, scowling as she comes out of the room she rested in and stands to Lee's other side. Sweden. Martin has kicked out Rasmus and Simone. You what? Belladonna looks to her boyfriend of 7 years. No, I haven't. They can do what they want. What's in Sweden? Belladonna asks Lee as Beatrice simultaneous ask, where did they go? They think their dad is in Sweden and that he can save the world. We're going too, Beatrice says, arms crossed. Hell must have frozen over because I actually agree with you. Belladonna said as she stared Martin down. You what? If their father can save the world we have to help them. Who knows what kind of reward that would bring. Aside from that, Simone and Rasmus lived in a bunker for 6 years and you just let them walk out. Martin, they've had no contact with the outside world before us. They might be older than they were when the rain started, but mentally. How could you let them just leave, Martin? Martin, they helped us when we needed it. Lee throws in. It's not just about surviving, it's about hope. And we're going with them, Beatrice speaks, having seen the crack in Martin's armor the moment sweet little Belle had expressed her disappointment. I throw in my lot just before he gives in and I might just be able to use it to play with Belle of the Ball's head later. Listen, it's fucking dangerous. Martin puts the paddle down as he leans forward, gray-green eyes locked on Emerald. We're not doing anything dangerous, right? Gene came up from behind the three women, stuffing his face with another food bar. Really, Gene? Ida looks at him with narrowed eyes. We want those to last and here you are snacking, in the middle of the fucking apocalypse. Again, it's not like we can go out hunting. The animals are infected. Luna isn't. He says as he takes another bite only to realize that everyone is staring at him. Man, Patrick speaks slowly, but loud enough to be heard in the silent room as he just shakes his head and backs away. Run, Beatrice's voice whispered from his side. Excuse me, I must have misheard you, Gene, because for a moment there it almost sounded like you suggested we eat Luna for meat. Belladonna's eyes were narrowed and seemed to glow a poisonous green. Gene gulped and glanced around quickly to find Beatrice, who had been standing at his side, was across the hall. Lee's eyes were narrowed as she stood beside Belladonna as Ida walked up to stand at his other side. Wanna correct yourself now before you get the beat down of a lifetime, Curly Q? Ida asked. I didn't mean to. It just came out, I swear. Gene spoke quickly. Pack the bags, we're leaving for Sweden. Hopefully, Rasmus and Simone will be fine until we can catch up. Belladonna says. Lee, Jean, Ida, and Beatrice, you four go ahead. The three of us will pack all we can and meet up with you. Bella, Martin begins but instantly shuts up when her narrowed eyes turn to him. Sounds like a great plan. The others had just left to catch up with the Anderson siblings when Donna tossed bags at them. I'm going to gather anything we can use for medical supplies, we're running low on those. Martin grabbed the food, all of it. Patrick filled the canteens, then find anything else that could be useful. You have a talent for finding things that can double as something else in a pinch that would be overlooked otherwise. Ida and Simone. Burger King. Why is it that the city is so dangerous? Rasmus asked. Martin said the people, but why? There was a lot of food here, at first. People gathered and infected each other. The ones that survived were so desperate that they stole from each other. Now they're killing each other for food. Beatrice says, watching him. I wonder if I could flip him. He has to know by now that Belle and our fearless leader are screwing each other. I bet he's never touched a woman in his life. I can see it now. He'll be so thankful he'll do whatever I say just for me to use him again and again. Corrupting him could be so much fun. People suck, Rasmus says, and Beatrice can't help thinking of him sucking at her flesh or maybe sucking on his. Of course, he'll have to clean it off me and return the favor. I can already picture trapping him between my legs as he licks me up. Fuck, Ida's voice speaks. Time to go, she says as she sees a group just a few yards away from the Burger King therein come into view. The others question her. We're about to have company of the unfriendly variety, so pack your shit. We have to go, out the back. Shit, move, run, Ida says, throwing her bag over her shoulder. Shit, I said run. She grabs Simone and pulls her along. Rasmus, Rasmus. Simone yells for blocks until finally Ida has had enough and slaps her across the face. Listen to me and listen very closely. You're here screaming, dragging who even knows to find us. We barely got out of there. Let me get one thing clear right now, Simone. I'm not dying for you. So shut the fuck up. We need to get to cover before it starts raining. Got it? Why yes. Simone stutters out. It's as they are walking that they pass a fence littered with papers that have been stuck to it. Each paper she sees is a missing person flyer. Have you seen Annette? SAVNET, missing. Missing. We're searching for Josephine. She's deeply missed. It's as Simone continues to look through the flyers that she catches sight of a young blonde-haired boy behind the fence as thunder rumbles overheard. Hey, you shouldn't be here. It's dangerous. It'll start raining soon. Simone doesn't notice as Ida pulls a flyer down. There's got to be someone who's looking after you. Thunder rolls and lightning strikes across the sky. Ida, this way, Simone says as she squeezes through an opening in the fence. She never notices Ida fold the flyer and put it in her pocket. Danmarker under quarantine. Sag sit over der kommer ingen hjälp. Denmark is in quarantine. Go south, no help coming. Where are your mom and dad? Simone asks the boy as the three hide out from the rain. Are you all alone? Ida rolls her eyes before closing them and leaning her head back against the wall. What is that? Nothing. Comes the boy's raspy voice. What is it? May I see? Simone takes the box from his hands as Ida glances down from where she is leant against the wall and looks at it. It's morphine. You shouldn't be eating that, kid. Is it morphine? Simone asks the boy, and Ida wants to slap the girl for not listening but takes a deep breath instead. It makes my stomach stop hurting. You shouldn't be taking pills. Simone tells him. Like the kid has a fucking choice out here, Ida can't help thinking as her hand slides to her bag and she hands a nutrient bar to him. You need actual food, kid. That stuff will kill you. He takes it but falls forward. Whoa, touching. I don't do touching, kid. Simone, get him off me, now. Simone pulls him back only for him to fall onto her lap. Shit, did he pass out? Hey, wake up. Don't touch him. I said don't touch him. A man's voice comes from behind them. He rushes forward and takes the boys, pulling him into his arms, fear prevalent in his eyes. Why did you help him? The man asked after calming down once he realized what had happened. He needed food. Simone tells him, and Ida glances at her. Seriously, like you gave it to him? That's not normal. Not around here. We're not from here. You should leave. There are only animals here. What do you mean? There are people, Simone says, and Ida groans. This bitch is gonna get us all killed because of her naivety. How the hell was Belle friends with her? It's like she has rose-colored glasses gorilla glued to her fucking eyeballs. No, it just looks like that. So why are you here? He's too weak to travel. I can't protect him. I wanted to cross the bridge with him. They say there's a doctor. Fuck no. Why did you have to say that? A doctor. She's supposed to be in a place called Little Bjarret. He might make it there if he gets enough to eat. Simone says before digging into her bag and passing a few pouches over to him. You two are the first people I don't know. Thank you. No need to thank me. We have to go find me brother, she tells the man. He gets up handing food to the boy before leading him towards the exit. Ida grabs the man from behind. Wah, Ida, are you crazy, man? Handing your son food before walking out into the open where those others are starving willing to kill for it. Ah, I wasn't thinking. Yay, I noticed. Ida, there was no need for that. Simone, do yourself a favor. Shut the fuck up, Ida tells her just as a commotion breaks outside. The four look outside to find people fighting over a bag of stale chips. We need to get the fuck out of here, now. Move quickly, don't look back. Ida says she never turns back to see that Simone had paused and taken in what was happening before following after her, catching the attention of someone they didn't want following them. Beatrice and Rasmus. Townhouse. I hope Simone got inside. Rasmus says as he follows behind Beatrice as she walks down the hall. Rain could be heard pitter-pattering against the windows. I'm sure she did, Beatrice says as she looks around. Well, looks like I came from a rich family this time. I wonder if there's still anything good to take around here. She looks at the open window that is banging from the wind. You lived here? Rasmus asks her only for silence to fill the room before the sound of a pigeon wings flapping overheard startle him. He turns back to see Beatrice standing in front of a doorway. Why haven't you been back all these years? It's a long story, she says her back to him as she looks at the rotted corpses lying on the bed, entangled. Posters on One Direction littering the walls. I haven't told anyone. My parents were divorcing and my dad had just told me. Beatrice turns away from the room having gathered all the intel she already needs for her story. I didn't want to talk to them. I just left and went to the cinema to see a movie. She turns away from him, shutting the banging window and locking it in place. What to say now? Think, he's about 17/18, so 6 years ago he would have been 11 or 12. Which means he definitely wouldn't have had a phone, not at that age. Perfect. And when I came back out, everything was gone. He'd been calling and leaving messages. In the first one he said my mom was sick, but that she'd be fine. And in the next one started, feeling sick too. He didn't know what to do. He felt strange. He said look after yourself and never come home again. She continued her back and forth, walking back to look into the bedroom to glance around for anything that caught her interest. And in the final message, there was nothing. Only silence. Rasmus walked up behind her and looked into the room. Seems like they really liked each other. They did, Beatrice says teary-eyed as she hugs the doorway as thunder clashed outside. Can corpses spread the infection? Why couldn't this bitch have taken off the gold before dying? Beatrice thinks as she stares at the beautiful gold bracelet around the dead woman's wrist. It looks like the rain stopped. Come on, let's go up to the roof. Beatrice says when the rain has stopped. It's amazing to be up this high. You can see everything from up here. She says odd. It's crazy there's nobody. Rasmus says. Yay, you're right. It would be better if you weren't here. She chuckles. Relax, it's irony. I don't get it. It means to say the opposite of what you mean. Why? Because what? Beatrice rolls her eyes at his response. Come on, let's find your sister. Seriously, I laid down what had to be the easiest prompt to flirt and nothing. Belladonna, Martin and Patrick. The bunker. You think the others found shelter? Yay, I hope so. Martin says as he looks out the window of the RV. Sometimes he just couldn't believe the amazing feats that could be accomplished with magic. Bella's abilities blew him away constantly. Just moments before they had been inside the truck when she grabbed our hands and twisted, making them feel as though they had been stretched thin and sucked through a straw. So why can't we do that when we need to get somewhere and it's raining? Patrick asks her. Despite the travel being basically instantaneous, we're still traveling through space and that space is filled with rain that will kill us. Also, I can't travel with more than 2 people at a time and it's actually pretty strenuous the further you go and the uncomfortableness you felt gets worse. Not to mention, I've never been able to go all that far without being disoriented and vomiting repeatedly. She shivers. Why haven't you thrown that thing away? Martin asks Patrick, watching as he plays with the metallic cube they had taken from the strangers. What if it's a GPS? Maybe they're tracking us. If that was the case, don't you think they would have been here by now? Not if the rain went down where they are first. Bella says as Patrick continues trying to open it before finally throwing it down. Fucking piece of shit. Beeping happens and light filters out from the metal cube. What the hell did you do? Martin asks him as he tightens his arm around Bella. I just threw it. Is that a map? Bella's voice questions as she looks at the hologram the cube produces. It looks like a wall. Martin says, his hand skimming over the red blocks over the blue lines of the map. A wall. Fuck. I think we're in a quarantine zone. Burger King. Where's Rasmus? Simone asks as she walks in. Hey Simone, Ida, we were just waiting for you too. Gene says as he relaxes in his chair. Like the new glasses. Ida nods to him. And just before he can try to startle them, Ida grabs Rasmus by the throat before releasing him once she realizing who he is. Don't fucking do that. There's scavengers. We need to go. We need to leave. Now. Simone says, trying to take charge. What happened? Lee asks. Now. Simone yells. Hurry up. Pack your bags. She says, but they had already begun doing so the moment Ida had warned them. Simone turns to Rasmus as the others grab their bags, not realizing how close Ida is. I fucking hate you. Give me your food. A long-haired, ragged-looking man demands while holding a knife out. We don't have any to spare. Gene tells him, implying that they do in fact have food. Now, give him the bag. Ida says, noticing how close Rasmus is to the man, literally an arm's length. He's in full reach of him. Martin always saw. Fuck him. Beatrice tell Gene. Give it to him before there are more. There's more in the next bunker. Simone says, and Ida can't help but want to close her eyes only to open them to a day where Simone Anderson's stupidity did not exist. Has it really only been a single day since I met this bitch? And not even a full 24 hours either. Simone. Beatrice groans. What? What bunker? Where is it? Nowhere. Give him something from the bag. Simone turns away and in a blink of an eye, both the man and Ida make the jump, but it's too late. He has Rasmus in his grasp, knife pointed in his face. Tell me where there's more food. Tell me. Let him go. Ida speaks calmly, keeping a single hand raised in view as the other slowly shifts towards her back holster, but he puts the knife to Rasmus' throat and she stops. You want me to cut him? Where is the food? Let him go. Simone tries to demand in a pleading tone. Where's the food? Let him go. Hey, let him go. Martin, Patrick and Belladonna come from behind the man. Belladonna can feel it. Her magic moving, crackling like lightning within her. The man turns his body, placing his back towards the booth, but keep them all in sight, but most especially Martin as he hold the assault rifle at the ready. Relax. Just relax. Martin tells the man. The man's hold relaxes somewhat. Rasmus, come here. Get over here. I'm going to count to 3. 1. Belladonna can feel her magic snapping into place as she keeps her eyes locked onto Rasmus' frightened form. 2. She sees it then, the slight twist in his body. 3. The man says but she's already moving. Belladonna pushes herself forward, magic throbbing in her legs as it quickens her pace before she collides with the haggard man and Rasmus. The fall to the floor. The man crawling back, away from them with a blood-stained hand. Donna. Rasmus gasps out as he looks at the beautiful red-haired angel lying on him. He can feel something warm on his side. She looks at him before pushing herself off, falling to his side. No. Martin rifle shoots. A bullet splatter brain matter before he kneels down next to her, pressing his hand down on the wound. Simone tries to grab Rasmus. Get off of me. He pushes her hands away, focused on Donna. He moves the red strands of hair out of her face just looking at her. Patrick. Bandages. Hurry. Martin says and he passes him the last bit unconjured bandage they have. The rest in the trailer down the block. Match. She whispers. Martin leans down to hear her better, not realizing that Rasmus is doing the same. You're both my matches. Her eyes close as she passes out, Martin's eyes wide, finally understanding what it was that was keeping him from just shooting Rasmus as he likely would have done anyone else who spied on them being intimate. A bunker. There's a bunker in Amager. Simone says from where she stands, watching. Getting to the trailer had been the easy part, it was upon reaching it that and Simone making her surprise known. Rasmus stayed quiet as Simone sat up front in the truck with Patrick, Jean, and Beatrice watching as Martin carried Donna into their bedroom with Ida following behind after pulling a bag out from a cabinet. She didn't know, Rasmus said blankly as he looked out the window. What? Lee turns to face him from the seat she had been praying in. She didn't know about this. Why didn't she know if Donna was going to come with us? Rasmus, who? What are you talking about? Simone. I asked her before we left the bunker if Donna was coming. Simone said she was. She said she was going to meet us later when Martin sent her to guard. She promised, but she was lying, wasn't she? Rasmus looked at Lee with teary eyes. I don't know. When did Simone say they talked? Lee asked. It couldn't be true. Bella wouldn't just leave. Simone must have lied because otherwise it meant she was going to abandon them. When Martin was talking with me. Rasmus looked away, remembering Martin's talk about sex. Lee sighed in relief before realizing what that meant for Rasmus. Bella was sleeping then. I know because I saw you and Martin go to talk just before I went to lay down in the room with her. There's no way Simone spoke with her then or I would have woken up. Rasmus nodded his head, looking back out the window until they finally made it to the next bunker. Finally, Ida, keep watch on her. Martin said as he rushed to the door only to pause once it was open. Fuck, someone's been here. Rasmus moves to look out the door and sees what Martin means. The bunker door looks as though it was blown off if the black ash marking embedded in the metal door and concrete were anything to go by. Rasmus sees Simone walk behind him. I'll see if it's safe. I'll come with you, Simone says following behind him. Did you find anything? Martin calls out as he searches throughout the bunker trying to find anything that might help Bella. The medicine cabinet is empty. Simone tells him as she walks out of the room. Fuck, he yells as he throws the garbage from the table onto the floor and makes his way back out. This was a waste of time. Martin, she'll be all right. Simone says, chasing after him, but he ignores her. Martin, Ida says Simone has morphine. Lee runs down the steps screaming just as he moves to him. His head immediately turns to her. You have medicine. He was furious but kept his tone even. I forgot. She takes off her bag and digs into it, pulling out the box she'd taken from the boy and holding it out to him, and he turns back around. Wait, there's a doctor. Where? He asks her, stepping forward, pissed she hadn't mentioned this earlier. In Little Bjarad. What is he doing in here? Martin asks Ida after telling everyone to get in and telling Patrick where to go. I needed help. Martin, we need antibiotics. The knife that man used, it must have been covered in God only knows, but there are already clear signs of infection. She'll be septic a day or two at best, tonight at the worst. Sunny whined from the spot she had claimed just above Bella's head. Martin, Bella whispers as her eyes open. She smiles at him lightly. The emergency necklace I gave you. The center jewel, it lets you control the safety features I put over blue. Hold it to the keys and they'll activate. Blue? Rasmus asked. Blue for the color of the helix, the truck. It was a joke. As kids we watched Blue's Clues together. We call it blue so we don't have to explain how we've been traveling so quickly. People just assume that when we say we need to get to blue that it's a person we have to get to. Ida tells him as Rasmus watches Martin open the closet and slides a panel on the wall in and up until a click is heard. He presses his necklace against something inside and he can see something almost shimmer as it moves outward. What was that? What? Martin says, turning around as he slides the panel back in place. That shimmer. He sees it. He can see my magic. Bella says. It had taken a few hours but they made it. Lee, bring the drone. Martin says. But it doesn't work. I think it must use the map as a receiver. There should be some sort of connection button on both, like with an Xbox and wireless controller. Here. It's here. Press them together. Lee, throw it. It works. There. That house. It took only minutes to reach the light gray stucco building that had likely been white back when it had been well cared for. Hello. Is anyone here? Simone called from where she had raced ahead, Patrick following shortly behind her with his gun in hand, annoyed by the tall blonde doing whatever she wanted. He was seriously beginning to question why they let her come along, but then again her brother wasn't all that bad. He seemed to be learning at least somewhat. Patrick didn't blame Rasmus for his ignorance, the fault of that lied with Simone. They split up to search the property. Jean being the only one aside from Beatrice who seemed to care for Simone, following in her direction. Stop. Go away. The doctor cocked her gun before aiming it at Simone. I'm sorry. Please, it's my friend. You're the doctor, right? Who told you that? Who sent you? A man. He. Where'd you get that? She questioned as she saw the map device in Jean's hand. We found it. Who are you? We won't hurt you. We just need help. And you can help. We're not leaving, Martin says as he carried Bella in his arms, refusing to let her walk as Rasmus led him, making sure the path was even and there wasn't anything that could make them fall. She needs help. Please. Rasmus nearly begged the woman with a pleading tone. He didn't want to lose Donna again. What happened? She was stabbed saving me. Please, Donna needs help, Rasmus pleaded. Marguerite. A man's voice came from the door the doctor had exited and opened again, revealing a somewhat tall man with scraggly long brown hair and an unkempt beard. He was supported by a cane. Philip, Martin's voice questioned. Martin. Philip's eyes dragged down to the red-headed young woman in his arms and tears immediately escaped him. My little girl. Farmhouse. Somewhere in Lillibjarad. Belladonna. My little Belle. Philip murmured, eyes locked on her, but stumbled as he moved forward, but nearly stumbled as he stepped down, and Martin realized why. Your leg. Philip looked at him. Philip, are you sure? The doctor, Marguerite, questioned, her gaze not wavering from them but seemingly focused on Belle with a look Martin couldn't figure out. It may have been 6 years, but I know my daughter. Inside. I'll help her. They moved, and then, Philip re-entering last as he hadn't wanted them to be slowed by him. His little girl hadn't responded at all to the sound of his voice, and he worried what that could mean for her. It's all right, Mr. Winther. She's just passed out. Ida tells him. It was strange to see her, them after so long. So many things had changed in the 6 years that had passed. Flashback. Winther, you're needed in Division 45's control room. Danix told him. God damn it. What happened now? He threw down the materials he was working with. I don't know. I heard Sten panicking on the phone and Anderson closed the video conference. Something about getting to his family, which doesn't make sense since he's working from home this week. I think something went wrong with the launch device. Shit, Philip said. I told them we needed to perform more tests on both the induction system and hydraulics because they were malfunctioning. Fuck, if anything went wrong in either of those, it could be catastrophic for anyone in the lab. Get Marguerite. She may be able to help anyone down there if the chemicals have mixed. Winther, you don't understand. Sten and Anderson, they authorized the launch. Danix called from behind him and he stopped. What? He turned to face him. What did you just say? When? I'm sorry, Winther. Maybe 30 minutes ago. Winther, we had to. It isn't our fault you weren't done on time. Call your family and tell them. Explain that you had to kill them because ensuring the safety of something like this, something that could kill them, was less important than money. He grabs his phone from his pocket and calls. Pick up, Papa. Her voice comes across and he can't help the sigh of relief that escapes him. Donna, you need to get home. You get home right now. He begins. Flashback ends. Papa. He looks over and there she is looking at him with those bright green eyes. Belladonna. He wipes at his eyes and then leans over to press a kiss to her forehead. My little girl, my sweet girl. You found me. I've missed you, Papa. Tears slid down from the corners of her eyes and he wiped them away. I've missed you too, darling. So very much. Why didn't you come home? I tried, darling. Please, if nothing else, believe that. I tried so hard to get back to you. I've only been able to get back on my feet, or rather foot now. Flashback. We have half an hour at best before the rain comes. We won't get very far. It's 6.5 hours of driving on a good day to make it to Hasliv. How am I supposed to make it to my daughter? I still can't get in touch with my nephew. What about your family? Your husband, kids? He's not picking up. Keep trying. We'll stop in Bjarad first. Get your family. But your girl. Marguerite looked at him from the backseat seat of his car, where she had hidden. Belladonna's smart. She'll make it the night. I told her to stay inside, to not let herself get wet, or go near anyone who is. Philip kept his eyes forward as his hands tightly gripped the steering wheel while he waited for the light to change. Are you sure? He nodded, unable to speak as he thought of his daughter, alone in whatever was about to happen. Thank you, God, you didn't even have to help me leave headquarters. You could have left me there and escaped on your own, but you didn't. Thank you, Philip, truly. The light changed and he turned onto the highway. Doing so was a mistake though, for as the car pulled onto E4, European Route 4, another was shifting between lanes far too quickly with sirens not far behind. He had just checked and begun pulling onto the highway when it shifted from the far side all the way across and collided into them, sending them into the guardrail and rolling down the grass hill, scattering people and sending cars careening to a stop at the street nearby. Arghhh. He screamed in pain as he felt metal crush around the lower half of him. Metal tearing at his flesh. Broken glass cutting at his face. Lip. Phi P. Phil P. Philip. The next he woke, he was in a hospital. The rain beating at the windows. Marguerite sat nearby in a chair, her arm in a cast. You're awake, she rasped. What happened? Where are we? Philip, you're awake. The rain. She looked at the door, making sure it was still closed. Lethal is expected, but worse. It's not just one rain, it's all. And animals, they don't die but they carry and transmit it. Belladonna, your family. I don't know about your daughter. Communications fell within the first half hour. And complete radio silence within 24 hours. She dropped her head into her good hand. It was then he noticed the subtle shake of her shoulders. Your family. Marguerite can't help sobbing then. Officers managed to get through to my neighbor. They were outside when the rain came. They're gone. We have to get out of here. I need to get to Belladonna. His heart was racing. He couldn't imagine the pain she was facing right now, and it only made the reality of the situation that much worse. Thoughts of everything that could go wrong were racing through his mind. More so the wonder of if she made it to safety and the fear of if she hadn't. His breath was short. Philip, you can't. He leaned up, groaning as he used his arms to push himself to sit upright and turned his body. Philip, stop. She rushed out of her seat as he removed the nasal cannula and put his feet down to stand, only to feel himself collapsing. Marguerite just managed to push him back in time so he was sat on the bed. He felt nauseous. What? It was then he looked down and realized he was missing his leg. His chest felt tight as he stared at the empty space where his leg should be. His heart monitor was beeping erratically. He didn't even feel it as his upper body fell back. He only realized it as his eyes found the ceiling. Oh, God, doctor. Philip, hold on. He could hear as Marguerite shouted, her footsteps running and a door opening. Help. We need a doctor. End of flashback. My leg had to be amputated on the spot. There was barely anything left of it below the knee. Said it was a miracle. I'd managed to hold on as long as I did. We made it to the hospital just before the rain began. Marguerite chimed in then. He suffered a mini heart attack. I think everything just got to him at once, but he couldn't leave, not and I wasn't going to leave him there alone. Belladonna held her father's hand tightly. The hospital went under lockdown after it was quickly discovered that people could carry the infection before dying of it themselves. That is until the power went out. We stayed there maybe a week. Doctors, nurses, everyone was leaving. Though one doctor managed to give us medication for Philip before also leaving. It was difficult to get around. We always needed transport and your father try as hard as he might is not Superman. Sounds like him. She gave a teary smile. He might not be Superman but Papa's always been my super dad. He chuckled at his daughter's words, tears filling his eyes. He hadn't been able to get rid of the fear that his daughter would think less of him if they ever reunited despite knowing she had never cared for others' appearances or disabilities. Super dad, I love you, Papa. I love you, darling. Now, rest. He used his cane and lifted himself up onto his prosthetic. He was still getting used to the damn thing after finally finishing it construction with materials Marguerite had managed to salvage. Martin, come along son. It was as they reached the far end of the room that he spoke again. I can't thank you enough. Philip, I didn't do anything. Belle's the one that, he stopped when the man who had become a father figure to him after the death of his own raised his hand. We both know my daughter is a bit more special than most. Tell me, Martin, did that mean she didn't ever need anyone else at her side? Philip looked over his shoulder at him. My little girl is a gem and she can be just as hard in the head except when it comes to you, and that Anderson boy for some reason. He nodded his head toward where Belladonna was laughing at something Rasmus said. She'd never say it but her biggest fear is to be alone. You not giving up, you going until you found her. I can't thank you enough for that. I want to marry her, sir. Have for a long time. Belle, she's it for me. Philip stared at him, eyes giving nothing away to Martin. What of Rasmus? The way she looks at him, it's the same way she used to look at you. I doubt she knows it, at least right now, but she's falling in love with the boy. Yet, she still looks at you the way I looked at my Dahlia. I'm not going to say I'm fine with it. I'd be lying if I did, but Belle and I talked about this a long time ago. It has to do with how special she is. She told me how she felt there was something missing, not between us but still something. Martin wasn't sure exactly how to explain the whole match situation to him, and he wasn't exactly sure Philip would want him to either. How exactly should he say that both him and Rasmus were needed so that her magic, the thing that allowed her to do so many wondrous things and something that was part of her, wouldn't end up killing her? That they balanced her because her magic was slowly filling them. He'd noticed how he'd felt stronger, faster, and he was pretty sure the same thing was happening to Rasmus, only at a much quicker pace. He didn't know if it had to do with Rasmus finally being out of the bunker and the fresh air, him getting more exercise with their continuous moving about, the situation, or even a combination of it. Either way, he wasn't going to be the one to tell Philip that he needed to sleep with his daughter on the regular several times to the point he wasn't sure how he could still get it up half the time, or her magic would eventually overload her body, killing her if she didn't exhaust herself to the point of nearly passing out every day. He loved Belle more than anything, but he had to admit Rasmus could give her something he couldn't. He was more dominant when it came to their sex life, but he. I know you're not saying something, but I get the feeling it's probably something I'll regret asking about, so I'll leave it. Either way, my little girl is all I care about, so if you both make her happy, I'm not going to be the one standing in the way of that. I'd be careful though. Simone has always been a little, what's the word? Obsessed. No, well, let's just go with possessive. Yes, possessive of my daughter. Even when it came to family, like her cousins Jakob and Sarah. It's strange to think after all this time, they have found each other. The doctor says as she sits with the short-haired blonde girl. I suppose so. Will she be okay? Yes, the wound was deep and she lost a lot of blood, but fortunately you took good care of the wound on the way here. She'll need plenty of rest though, too much movement and the stitches will pop, reopening the wound. You got her here in plenty of time, and with the medication collected for Philip there shouldn't be worry for infection. Simone released a breath of relief. Have you helped many people? I try to help anyone I can, but there are not many people left to help. Do you live here? Only for the last year or so. The traveling is hard on Philip, especially as when we had first began he needed physical therapy. Considering the circumstances, I was the one giving it to him. She breathed out a small laugh. I had no idea what I was doing, but we made it work. Of course his recovery was probably twice as long as it would have been otherwise, but we made do. Do you have a family? I used to. Marguerite's lips thin as her eyes find Philip sitting after finishing his talk with the young man that is walking outside with his bag. Martin is his name, if I remember correctly. They died. My husband and 2 children. They would have been a little younger than you. The rain took them. Are you okay? Martin looks up momentarily to see Beatrice a few feet away. He sets his bag down on the ground and breathes in the fresh air. Bella's going to be all right. Beatrice turns her body to fully face him. Are you okay? She asks him again. I don't care about her, damn it. It would have made things so much easier if Ida hadn't been there. You would have been mine. You were supposed to be mine. I had been right there so close to having him inside me. If she hadn't been there, he wouldn't have been able to resist, then he would have given in and fucked me the way a man should. Not that gentle shit he does with her. Those gentle little thrusts as if the bitch would break if he let loose. But I wouldn't, and he would have been hooked once he'd had me, and even if he wasn't, he never would have never been able to go after her. He would have given up on her the moment his cock was in me. God, the things I would do to him and Rasmus, if they would just take their eyes off that bitch. She didn't bother to remember that it was in fact her that had woken him up, even if accidentally, while in truth, trying to rape him in his sleep. It was completely impossible for her to even conceive him being a good enough man that he still would have gone after Belladonna and told her everything, despite it meaning he would lose her. She didn't accept the fact that even if Ida had never been there or Martin had never woken, that he still would have rejected giving into her seduction. After all, no other guy had done so before, so what was it that made him different? What was it about Rasmus? Beatrice couldn't help wondering what it was that made them so immune to her. What did Belladonna Winther have that she didn't? The both of them. That's it. Bella's all right. There was never anything wrong except that fact being endangered. He tells her, not bothering to look her way again. A small smile remains on his lips, knowing his Belle was going to be all right and that their little family had gained back someone who had been so important to them before the rain had separated them. Why do you ask? Beatrice sucks at her teeth before moving closer, sure that her newest plan would send either of them straight into her. You could learn something from Rasmus, she says, causing Martin to pause. Got you. Okay, what might that be? He says, looking up from where he was kneeled down rummaging through his bag. To express your feelings, Beatrice tells him in her most sincere tone. Funny, my feelings only need to be clear to one person and I assure you she knows them. Does she? Beatrice questions, letting the question sit but continuing before Martin can do anything more than raise a brow at her audacity. If I was in her position, You're not, but if I was, I wouldn't be stringing that kid along. I doubt she even notices she's doing it. She adds in quickly, seeing that he's about to interrupt before finishing. Still, it does make you wonder. Not even a little. Martin stands, then closing his bag and rising to his full height and taking a step towards her. No, it doesn't. Belladonna isn't string along anyone, even unconsciously. Before you make a bigger fool of yourself, let me tell you now. Belle and I have no secrets. There isn't anything to know that I don't already know. Don't test me, either of us really. You won't win, Beatrice. He tells her before walking away. Back inside. Where are you going now? Marguerite asks Simone as she finishes making tea from some leaves she'd acquired when her and Philip had stumbled upon an old tea leaf shop that was still in decent condition and had a number of leaves stored in airtight jars. Norcoping. Oh, what is there? Our dad. Simone tells her as she waits patiently for the doctor to turn back with the water. He works for Apollon. She never notices Marguerite pause. What's your dad's name? Frederick, she says as she plays with the mug in her hands. Frederick Anderson. Marguerite lips open but no sound escapes her as she looks up from what she is doing to an old wallet-sized photo she had pinned on the wall across from her near one of Philip and his daughter smiling in front of their cottage. The photo her eyes locked on, however, was the one that showed herself smiling happily with her husband and two daughters after spending the day at Bakken. In her mind she could hear their cheers and shouts of joy turn into screams of pain and despair. She could see their smiling faces twisting with pain and horror at the realization that they were going to die. She could see them reaching out for her and begging her. Actually, there is one more thing we need for Belladonna. What is it? Simone sits up at the though Donna might need something. Despite not liking the ways her old friend had changed, she couldn't help it. Maybe, it's just Martin. If I could just get her away from him, she'll go back to me, sweet Donna. I'm sure of it. She needs a tetanus shot. I haven't got it here, but it's close by. Do you mind accompanying me? No, not at all. Marguerite smiled when Rasmus offered to join as well. She led them out where a number of their group sat outside. Simone paused when she saw the questioning looks as she held her and Rasmus jackets. Donna needs a shot. We're going to go get it. Should I come along? Martin asked the doctor. No, it will be fine. It's just a short walk and there is no one else in the area. There's some tea inside. Please help yourselves. It's right over here. Careful, Rasmus, Simone says, seeing the incline only for him to roll his eyes. What is this place? Simone asked after taking in the numerous tents set up. Until she sees Marguerite place her hand on a scanner with the Apollon logo at the bottom right corner. You have access to that. Marguerite sounds in acknowledgement before the scanner bleeps a final time and the bunker door lifts. Marguerite steps aside, revealing the scanner's screen. Access granted. Johansson. Division 45. You worked for Apollon? Simone asks. I used to. Did you know our dad? Rasmus hesitates only slightly on the word, not knowing a better one for the man who had left them in that bunker, the man that left Donna without knowing if she'd make it somewhere safe. He didn't want that kind of man to be his dad, and he didn't want a sister who lied to him, but that is what he had. He feels guilty for being mad with them both. Is it wrong to be mad with them? Is it wrong that I want Donna to be my family but still have her like Martin does? I can't even talk to Simone about this, and the person I could talk to about it is the person I have these feelings about. We weren't in the same department. But you must know him. He's been there from the start. Simone responds. I didn't know your dad. Marguerite tells them again. Okay, come on. But just stop it, Simone. Donna needs this shot, so let's get it and then we can go. She's helping us. She's helping Donna, Rasmus tells his sister as he ignores the bad feeling building inside him. He can't help questioning why he feels this way as he walks down into the bunker with Simone a few steps behind him. Why do I feel like something is wrong? Marguerite walks into a section of the bunker set up as a medical facility and grabs two black cases before bringing them to the table and setting them down. She looks through it, hands moving as Simone watches her. Why did they build the barracks and everything around them? They're used by the patrols. Warning bells begin to ring in Rasmus' head and he steps back. remembering the last time he'd felt like this years ago, when he was 9, and he'd woken up in a bag with Donna crying over him after Simone had left him in the park alone so she could go out with her friends. Flashback. He couldn't help it as he bounced foot to foot in the ever-universal pee-pee dance as he waited for the only bathroom stall that worked. He didn't like peeing in front of anybody so he always used the stall if he couldn't hold it, till he got home. Simone had been gone a long time and he was getting hungry too, but he'd already eaten the sandwich and chips she put in his backpack. And all 3 of the water bottles so he couldn't hold it anymore. He really tried to too, but it was okay, Simone should be back from the movies soon anyways. Excuse me, he says as the man came out. He rushes inside and did his business with a sigh. It's as he's flushing the toilet he realizes he never heard the water from the sink go on. Little bells go off in his mind. His brows wrinkles as he thinks about why he has that empty feeling in his tummy that he really doesn't like. Suddenly his nose scrunches up. Ew, he didn't wash his hands. There's pee-pee germs on the door now. He looks at the stall door and wraps his little hand in toilet paper before opening it. He walks around the stall to the sink before he feels a pinch at the back of his neck and everything goes dark. How could you just leave him alone, Simone? Belladonna asked in a panicked tone. She just couldn't believe what Simone had told her. What if something happens to him? Nothing is going to happen to him, Donna. I told him to stay at the park and not to leave the playground, besides it's only been like 4 or 5 hours. He's fine, she replied in frustration. How do you know he's fine? He's 9, Simone. When you or your mother tell him to clean his room, does he actually do it? Because if I remember last time I slept over and you told him to do so, he threw his stuff under the bed or into the closet. So how do you know that he won't walk off? She yells as she looks around the park. Rasmus. She calls for him as she looks for reddish blonde curls. He's probably just messing around, Donna. She tells her friend, ignoring her own rising panic. What was he wearing? I don't know. Maybe jeans or shorts. God damn it, Simone. Donna's eyes scan the park. Where are you, Rasmus? She feels her magic tug slightly and her eyes move until she catches sight of a man with a large bag after exiting the men's room. Her magic tugs and tugs. Rasmus. She doesn't even realize when she begins to move and then she's running as Simone yells at her. Stop. The man turns back only for a moment but runs as he catches sight of her. Stop him. Donna yells as her magic rises and fuses with her voice, compelling all who could hear her to act. Get him. Stop. Come back here. People around the park scream and move in action until he is caught after one woman jumps onto him, tackling him to the ground. The bag dropping to the ground with a heavy thud. Donna rushes forward and opens the duffel bag as she ignores the growing crowd and Simone running towards her. Rasmus, wake up, she says and reaches her hand out to brush against his cheek, lightly tapping it as she sends a gentle zing of magic that acts as an enervate. Donna, Rasmus says in a sleepy voice, rubbing his eyes. Why are you crying? She pulls him into her arms and hugs him tightly. Oh, God, Simone says as she stands a few steps away. Flashback ends. Back at the old farm. She laughed as she watched Ida smack the back of Patrick's head after he suggesting stealing what was here while the doctor was out. Her father made a joke about waiting until he was at least outside the room when she noticed it. Panic but mostly worry was slowly building in her, except it wasn't her own, and as Martin was right in front of her smiling, it clearly wasn't his either. She concentrated on it, the feel, the pull. Rasmus, she whispers and Martin turns back to her. Belle, did you say something? Martin looked down towards where she sat against the wall. It's Rasmus. I can feel him, Martin. Something's wrong. She whispers to him. I think Rasmus and Simone are in trouble. A magical alarm rings through both their minds but ends quickly, signaling that someone had gotten close to Blue but kept moving. His eyes widen before narrowing and the smile slides off his face. Time to go. Patrick, Ida, find Rasmus and Simone. Lee, help Philip get his things together. Jean, Beatrice, see if there's anything we could use. We need to move, now. Martin, Belladonna, Philip asked in worry. The doctor's strangers bunker. The strangers. What were the strangers doing here? Simone looks back at the entrance, Division 45. Yes. Marguerite responds from where she stands, not once looking up. What about it, Simone? Rasmus looks toward his sister, a warning in his voice. It was on the access screen when we entered the bunker. She says, ignoring him. Can't he see this is important? She might know how to find our dad. And, she asks, turning to look at them both though her eyes focus on Simone. Our dad worked there, Simone says, her voice rising with every word that passes. Simone. Rasmus screams at the same time and pushes his sister away after he catches sight of the metal canister in the doctor's hand releasing some sort of gas. Marguerite throws it at them after pressing a button that sends the gas rushing out as she screams. Your father killed my children. The gas leaves them coughing, struggling to breathe until both collapse unconscious. Strangers. Jean whispers beneath his breath after catching sight of the darkly clothed men heading towards them from the road and rushes out of the room he'd been searching before running into Lee and Philip. Strangers are coming. Philip, we need to go. She zips his bag and tosses it over her shoulder. Jean, warn the others. Lee says as she moves to help Philip. Simone slowly comes to and finds her wrist zip tied. When her eyes finally focus, it's to find Rasmus tied down to the padded surgical table in the middle of the room as Marguerite sets up the tablet's camera and checks its angle. Rasmus groans as he wakes himself after having had a larger dose of the knockout gas since he was closer to the canister. I don't know what you want or who you think we are, but we, Simone begins only for the doctor to interrupt. Did you know it was your dad that did this? Marguerite says as she looks towards her. What are you talking about? I told them it was dangerous. You can't attack nature and not expect it to strike back, but they wouldn't listen. Him and Stein. Marguerite removes the surgical gloves from her hands. Philip tried to warn them too. He told them the delivery system wasn't ready. He told them it would be catastrophic if the problems it had wasn't fixed, but they didn't care. We told them but they wouldn't listen. Marguerite tells Simone, neither realizing that Rasmus had woken and was listening to every word spoken. He's the one who killed my children. Marguerite's voice rasps out. My dad. Simone questions in disbelief before shaking her head in the negative. Marguerite moves to Rasmus' side and that is when Simone sees it. Marguerite holds a capsule filled with some sort of amber liquid with a thin needle attached. No, my dad wouldn't kill anyone. You have no idea what your dad is capable of. Marguerite moves to find a good vein in Rasmus' neck. No. Simone grits her teeth as Rasmus does his best to lean away from the woman. I want him to see what I'm going to do to you. You won't get out of here. She tells Rasmus as she looks down at him struggling to free himself from the restraints before moving to press the record button. It's going to hurt, but it will be over fast. Why are you doing this? You don't know what it feels like to lose everyone you love. To be lonely yet not alone. I spent 6 years with Philip. I lost my husband, my children. He lost his leg and had no idea whether his daughter lived or not. Philip was all I had left except now he doesn't need me. He has his daughter and his daughter brought you, both of you, to me. Even if she doesn't know it, she's given me my reward for taking care of her father these past years. She's given me my revenge for my family's suffering. You can't kill us. You really don't know anything. Marguerite says as she points the needle towards Simone. No matter what you may think our dad has done, me and Rasmus, we haven't done anything. Lie still. She yells as Rasmus struggles harder than before as she pushes down on his shoulder. Your children. I understand. Simone says. I know how much it hurts. Our mom's dead too. Marguerite looks away from Rasmus to her for a moment and she smiles bitterly. Do you really think the death of a parent is anything compared to that of a child? A parent is supposed to die before their child, not after. She puts the needle into Rasmus' neck and he screams in pain at the sharp sting. 2 shots ring out and glass shatters as a bullet is lodged in Marguerite's forehead as another goes through her throat. That's how we do it from now on. No more talk. Let's go. Patrick says as Ida moves forward. Patrick, shut up. Rasmus holds still. Ida says as she moves toward Rasmus and gently pulls the needle away from him before applying pressure. She grabs the small bit of bandage she carries with her and wraps it around his neck before removing his restraints. That'll have to do for now. Let's get out of here. You okay to walk? Rasmus nods, holding the bandage in the spot the needle entered. Simone, let's go. Patrick calls to her from where he stands, helping Rasmus to his feet. He never saw as she packed the needle the doctor had planned to inject Rasmus with into her bag. Simone never realized the needle's tip was wet not only with her brother's blood but the amber liquid contained within. Ida would not realize that when she removed the needle she had unknowingly pressed down on the release button before it was fully dislodged, injecting Rasmus with a small amount. All the while Rasmus was unaware of the changes happening within his body as the virus that had already bonded with him was introduced with a newer, fresher sample that was strengthening that which was already within him but lied dormant, until now. OMFG. Season 3 comes out August 6th, you guys. That's 5.5 weeks. I can't wait. So, in the meantime I'm going to be pushing us through to get there or nearly there in that time. I'm hoping to have this story completely finished before September. So, saddle up for back-to-back updates cause the moment I finished writing, reviewing, editing, and publishing I'm heading on to the next one and repeating. Sporadic updates will go up for a few of the other stories, mainly The Last Witch, Nuclear Witch, and Reborn My Way. Though I've been in a bit of a stump lately when it comes to writing either of them. I manage to write a chapter and then I go over it and realize it really isn't meshing with the direction I want the story to go, bringing forward the dreaded delete. Also, I have completed the first few preliminary draft chapters of 2/3 of my rewritten and separated Witch Way to Life and Death series, A Shifter's Way to Life and Death along with an Elemental's Way to Life and Death. Both are waiting for the final votings which could bring changes to certain areas. One such thing in A Shifter's Way would be that should Henry Cavill win the vote as Dean, then he as well as his mother will face some stigma. His mother Nova for having married a white man, especially with the problems the tribe has with the Otto family. The tribe will not show outright hostility due to her being the only child of her father who, had he lived, would have been chief of Black Hat Reservation, and her relation to Kalatika, who is the current chief. Nova and Taka were raised more as siblings than cousins, and so he will be more accepting and not take kindly to those treating his surrogate, big sister, or nephew, godson badly. In the case of Dean, if played by Henry, the tribe members will not necessarily blame him for his parentage but rather look down on him as he grows to look more like his father, especially when his skin tone pales. This does not mean he won't face bullying from the tribe's children for not only having a white man for a father but being white himself, appearance. Whereas if he is played by Jason he won't face it as much but rather see more of how his father is looked at, whereas off the reservation people will have trouble seeing the two of them as father and son. Happens with me and my dad but reversed. Well, back to the story. Getting back to Blue proved to be a challenge with the strangers around, but they had done it. Ida had used the knife she kept tucked into her boots to slash at the tires closest to the while remaining hidden. Of course, Simone had been unable to keep quiet long enough for the to get inside without being noticed. She had put them all in danger, and in doing so Jean was shot. Ida had barely managed to get him into the RV when Beatrice launched us forward, foot pressed down on the gas pedal so hard it touched the floor. Simone's actions had not only gotten Jean hurt but cost them 2 bags of food they needed. With Belle still recovering and medicated, she had been unable to summon them to her. Belle was too out of it as her magic fought back the infection, though she was improving and Jean's dominant arm was out of commission for now. Not only were they running out of food with an additional mouth to feed and had 2 of their own injured, but they didn't know where the hell they were. Simone had no idea where they were or even which way to go despite the holo map they had. You've had a map in your head for 2 weeks and now you have a techno map in front of you. You should know where that fucking bunker is at. Yay Patrick, but this place isn't on the map. Simone replied. So, your short-term memory is gonna get us killed. He scoffed to her. He was so furious. Jean couldn't use his arm and Bella was still down for the count. Everything has gone wrong since we found that damn bunker. Look for yourself. It doesn't work. Simone was exhausted. She was just tired of it. They were the ones that needed her. I'm the one who can get them to food and clean drinkable water, but the moment things get tough it's suddenly my fault. This is ridiculous. These woods aren't even on the map in Rasmus. Why can't he just listen to me? I know what we need to do. That doctor was wrong. Our father had nothing to do with this. If he tells these people that he did, who knows what they might try to do to us. Let her think. Give her a second. Martin interrupts. So you're defending her now? Real cool, Martin. Just shut up, Patrick. Rasmus told the older man. What was that? You wanna get your ass kicked? Patrick spat back furious. The kids thought he had the balls to speak to him like that when it was because of him and his sister that his friends were hurt in the first place. Ida pushed him up the hill. Walk, Patrick. We'll be back once he cools off. Ida looks back momentarily and Martin nods. Take your time. Martin turns his head back to Simone. You too. She nods and looks back at the map. I don't know. This place isn't even on the map. Rasmus, Beatrice, you two head back to Blue and check in with the others. We'll wait for Ida and Patrick. Martin turns to them. No, Rasmus can stay here. Simone says, straightening up and glaring at him. I'll be fine, Simone. I'm not a little kid anymore. You're my baby brother. And there's no way I'm letting you out of my sight when you could go about saying or doing God only knows what if I'm not watching you. Rasmus rolls his eyes, already sure he knows exactly what she is thinking. I'm your brother, not your child. I'm going to check on Belle and Mr. Philip. Just figure out where we need to go, Simone. He tells her before turning away and walking off with Beatrice behind him. Rasmus. Simone, let's just get this done so we can meet with the others once Ida brings back Patrick. Now, can you figure out what direction we need to head in? I don't know. This place isn't even on the map. Patrick, you need to calm down. Calm down. That little shit. As a teenager who before all this was a kid locked in a bunker with no one but that domineering bitch for 6 years. Ida cut him off. He doesn't know any better, Patrick. Haven't you noticed it? Noticed what? Patrick looks at her confused. He's mimicking all of us, mostly you and Martin though. I think he's trying to figure out who he is outside that bunker. You mean a teenage brat who wants Martin's girl? Ida rolls her eyes at his response. In case you haven't noticed, Belle hasn't said anything to stop him. And that makes it okay. So what she do? Neither had Martin. Saint lets him. What? Patrick pauses as he realizes what she says and starts to think. Oh shit. Finally get it. So they what? Plan on taking turns or sharing her? I don't know, Patrick. To be honest, I really, and I do mean really, don't care. She looks into his eyes, tired off all the squabbling that has happened the past few days. All because they couldn't open the security bag that was only key to Belle, which held the expanded bag filled with years' worth of food from the bunker. Magic may have helped them survive a lot easier and kept them safer than other people, but it was such a pain in the ass when you didn't have magic yourself. Does it really matter what they do? It's basically the apocalypse, and to be honest, I have a feeling Rasmus needs her. I mean, can you imagine having no one but Simone? Patrick shivers. Don't say things like that. Damn it, I'd sooner take a bullet to the head or better, put one in hers. And Rasmus actually lived it through most of his teens. Ida teased with a smile before something caught her eyes through the foliage. What is that? Come on. They walk ahead and enter what appears to be a family grave and a mansion of some sort a half-mile or so ahead of them. With the clouds rolling in and nothing but the light in the window, they are both reminded of horror films they used to watch. What the fuck is this place? Shit, that's creepy. I'm not going in there. Wanna die from the rain? We won't make it back to the road before it starts downpouring. The creepy-ass mansion straight out a horror film is our best chance. Ida scowls as she says it, and as much as Patrick wants to say otherwise, he knows she's right. Why the hell wasn't this on the map? We don't know who lives here, it could be the strangers. Martin grumbles as the four of them close in on the mansion. Would make sense. Ida responds. They would need to mark it cause they would already know where home isn't if they lost their map and someone happened upon it like we did. You mean killed them and stole it? Simone butted in, but Ida ignored her and kept going. Then if they managed to work the map, they wouldn't be able to find it. Fortunately, there's me and Patrick here to save the day, otherwise you would have gotten us caught out in the rain and killed us because you couldn't handle admitting you were lost. Ida couldn't help adding the last bit with a little tilt of her head before straightening. Simone's attitude was really pissing her off. And then there was the way she looked at both Martin and Belle. The more Ida thought about it, the more nervous she became. Simone looked at Belle as if she was some treasured doll that needed to be put up on a shelf in a safe hidden in a concrete wall inside a safe room with any and every protection available. The few times she didn't, she looked as though her heart had been ripped from her chest and it worried her. The girl was completely obsessed with Belle and she thanked every deity out there that Belle had hidden what she could do from the nut job. Then there was the way she looked at Martin. Simone couldn't seem to decide if she hated his guts because he did what needed to be done to protect all of them, or if she wanted to climb him like a tree and ride him like one of those cowboys from the American movies. The most disturbing thing though was that she usually looked at him with the latter after he had kissed Belle or shown her affection, even if it was as small as putting a loose curl behind her ear. Then there was the time she glared at her own brother because Belle checked on him or touched his arm. Either way, she was keeping both eyes on Simone at all times and every single one of her knives ready for the day the bitch snapped. If they're strangers, then we whack them. Patrick cut in before Simone could make a retort. A smirk forming on his lips as he watched Ida's hips sway just a little more noticeably, as they always did when she felt she got a leg up on someone. The way she swings those hips side to side with that perfect ass had to be illegal before all this shit went down. There has to be a god up there somewhere, and right now he's probably staring just as hard knowing he made the most foo. How many do you think there are? Martin says as they get closer and Patrick snaps back to attention. We either go in or face the rain. Simone's grating voice pipes in and Patrick's hard-on instantly deflates. Well, at least that's one problem taken care of. He thinks to himself as the light emanating from inside glows on them, making everything far more visible. Do you want to come in? A voice speaks from behind them. With the others, a road elsewhere. I'm going to check the fuel gauge, you head inside. Beatrice tells him as she climbs into the cab, but the moment the door is closed behind him, seeing the tank registering at half full. As she opens the door to hop back out, she wonders how there was any gas left, as she didn't remember them stopping for any, only for her eyes to glaze over. Magic laced over the blue cab compels her to believe they had found gas a short while ago, her previous thought forgotten, and her mind turns to something else as she walks toward the back. Now, let's figure out the best way to detach the cab. She mumbles to herself as she looks at the hitch, unaware of the fact that no matter what she tries, she'll never actually be able to separate them, at least so long as those who control the security matrix lived. Back with Martin's group. Martin turned at the voice, aiming his assault rifle at the man. Don't move. Stay where you are. You don't need to point at me with that thing. The man looked to be in his mid to late 40s with a receding hairline and graying beard. His clothing was strange, appearing to be made of what looked like hand-spun linen, and yet there wasn't a wrinkle in sight. He was clean, far too clean considering the fact that water was a luxury these days. Or rather, it was for anyone who didn't have a witch that could refill their highly filtrated water with a flick of her finger and had a rune permanently engraved into the water tank so it never emptied. I won't do anything. You're welcome to come inside, but no weapons. You're not getting my weapon. Martin replied, taking a step forward, wanting to get the others behind him. Martin, Ida said as her eyes followed something moving behind him. He turned his head to see two older women coming from inside and stopping only a few feet away. They were dressed the same. We are peaceful people. How can I know that? You can't, but you can choose to believe me. Don't hand over your gun. Don't you fool. Patrick was cut off when Ida grabbed onto him, sliding her arms around his body and pressing herself against him, face burying into his chest. Put your arms around me and relax. Ida whispered lightly but just loud enough for him to hear as thunder rumbled overhead, and he did as she asked. We don't have a choice, Patrick. Besides, we still have the pistols and our knives. She whispered the last bit into his chest as lightning struck. But you must give us your weapons or we won't let you in. Martin, Simone called. Martin, do it. We have to get inside. It will start raining. He looked toward Patrick and Ida, catching their eyes, and with a shared look he lowered the rifle, holding it out to be taken. The darker-haired woman stepped forward to take it before turning away and heading inside. Please follow. The oldest of the women, with a mix of pale blonde and silver, said, and led them inside just before the first drops of rain fell. There were even more people inside, far too many. They were heavily outnumbered if things went wrong. What is this place? Ida asked quietly, not having separated herself from Patrick's side. Simone looked at her in confusion, but a quick glare had fortunately kept her mouth shut, at least for now. Patrick was well used to this charade. Ida's looks had always helped in making sure others underestimated her, as despite being in her mid-20s she maintained a youthful teen look. The only one better at this than her was Belle. Though Belle actually was just that sweet, at least until you got on her bad side. All you need to know is that once you enter, you're part of us. Nothing outside can touch you. Whatever you used to be, all your problems and worries, are gone. There is no past here. There is only you, right now. Ida's grip tightened on Patrick's shirt. A single thought running through her head. This man is dangerous. You must be tired. You need sleep. Come with me. The silver-haired woman from before spoke, a soft smile on her lips. Recruiter, Martin thought. They were led to a large empty room. She locked the door. We're locked in. We should have gone back the moment you couldn't figure out that map. We're moving out as soon as the rain stops. Martin said as his thoughts turned to Belladonna in the hope that her and the others were safe. Gonna be kind of hard when we're locked up. Patrick responded. Patrick, Ida warned. We needed to get inside. Look outside the window. Thunder rumbled and lightning struck as the downpour continued outside their current shelter. I get it. Doesn't mean I like it. Earlier that day, with Belladonna, inside the RV. How is it? Lee asked as she walked into the room. Better. I used my magic to clean and close the wound to help prevent infection. Unfortunately, doing so only heals the outside, but it's something. Bella tried to smile, though it came out as a grimace due to her pushing herself up into a sitting position. You shouldn't strain yourself. Lee rushed forward and helped her settle. You've done so much already. I'm okay, Lee. We almost lost you, but you didn't and you won't. I'm not going anywhere for a long time, Lee, and wherever I go you are coming with me. Didn't we promise to be sisters? Bella smiles at her teasingly and Lee's pale cheeks pinken. What's this? I have 2 daughters now. Philip questions with a crooked smile and deep smile lines on full display despite his thick beard. Oh, yes Papa. Bella put 2 fisted hands at her hips and a pout on her lips. However could you forget that we adopted Lee? Lee giggles at her teasing. Just look at my adorable little sister. They shared a laugh. Ah, well then I suppose I should welcome you to the family, Miss Lee. I hope you can handle us, we're all quite mad here. Lee glanced at Bella. Well, all the best people are. She gave a small smile and Philip laughed. I see she's gotten you into Alice in Wonderland. It was then that Rasmus poked his head in. Alice in Wonderland. Do you remember when I read it to you, Rasmus? He nods his head. You said we'd watch the movie together and we were going to, but then, it rained. And father left you. His hand clenched into a fist at his side as he scowled, glaring down at the floor. Well, I still have the movie. How about we all watch it in here? Rasmus' head snapped up, eyes wide and the corners of his lips tilting up. Do you think Jean might want to join us? She asked Lee. He just took his medicine and went to sleep. Bella nodded her head at the response. Only for warning bells that were locked onto blue to ring in her head. Maybe next time. Where is Beatrice? She asked with narrowed eyes. The next day, Martin's group. A loud click of the heavy wooden double doors sounded, signaling it being unlocked. And the woman who had locked them in the night before came in. Good morning, she said, and waiting for the four of them to fully wake. There is breakfast. You've got food? Patrick questioned, looking at the woman in confusion. People don't just hand out food, not these days. Not unless they want something. Of course, we have food. Martin and Ida shared a look but moved to follow the woman with Simone and Patrick. They walked with her to another building and were led through a garden with a dirt path. It's so beautiful here, Simone spoke. And peaceful. The woman spoke as she looked back, meeting the blonde's eyes. A man crosses their path pushing a large wheelbarrow with several baskets after leaving a greenhouse. The baskets held red kale, potatoes, carrots, tomatoes, and more. These were things that were inedible now because of the rain, and yet here were these people gathering them. The two greeted each other. Oh, how gorgeous. Let's see. Oh, yes, she said while examining a tomato. Here, she lifted a tomato and held it out to them. When none of them moved to take it, she took a bite. A hum of appreciation left her. That's not possible, Ida mumbled. Come, she led them to a building. Go on, we need to clean you of the outside world. The building held multiple shower stalls. There you go, isn't it nice? Now I want you to take off your clothes and put them on the bench so we can wash them. Then after you have showered you will put on the clothes that are in the stalls, one for you each. You're not seriously asking us to get wet, are you? Simone looked at the woman as if she was insane. A look that was shared by the others. Yes, she chuckled. Well, how else would you shower? Don't worry, we treat for our own water and clean it. Nothing here is dangerous. Like the tomatoes. Precisely, just like the tomatoes. No one moved. You don't believe me. I see you're still skeptical. Wait and see, then. Look at this. She stepped into a stall and turned the water on. She rinsed her face first before turning and leaning her head back and underneath the spray. Once her head and a portion of her body was thoroughly drenched, she turned the water off and stepped off with a smile. They stepped back, watching her for signs of infection. Simone, move. Ida said, noticing the girl standing there, watching the woman. Not everything can be explained. But I see that you want to believe. She reached out and pressed the wet hand against Simone's cheek. You're safe to do that here. The woman smiled at them before walking out, closing the door behind her. What the fuck, man? Martin said lowly. Okay, we're getting out of here. Shoes on. We're in no hurry, Martin. Simone, put on your shoes. Your brother is likely to be worried by now, so are the others. Rasmus is fine. I know you're trying to protect us, but maybe we should stay here for a bit. The others could come here and we could gather supplies, food and water. It's not dangerous, Martin. Don't you think it's odd to come to a strange place in the middle of nowhere and they offer tomatoes and a bath? Yes, of course it is. Okay, then put your shoes on. Martin tries to keep calm but something is screaming at him that they need to leave. Something was wrong with this place and like hell would he bring Belle here. No, she stripped herself of her shirt. Martin, come on. The hell are you doing? Ida questioned Simone with a sneer as the blonde continued to strip in front of Martin. Just try it, Simone said looking over her shoulder at Ida and Patrick. She already showed that it won't hurt us. The water is clean. She was stripped down to her underwear. Patrick looked at Ida's tired face before turning to Martin. She has a point, Martin. Let's just find out what's going on here and then we go. Patrick. Ida looked at him shocked he would even suggest staying, especially since he was the one who tended to be the most suspicious of anyone new. We're all tired. Let's just figure this place out and if it is we get the others. We have 36 hours before the others move so we should at least give it a shot. We give it today. After that if we don't all agree we leave. Martin stared at him. This was his second in command. Yes, Belle was his partner but they divided their responsibilities. Belle didn't want to fight. She would if need be but preferred not to due to her past life. Belle preferred to gather intel and supplies, provide medical care, and generally take care for others rather than be on the front lines, and he could understand. She had seen and lived through a civil war. All she wanted now was to settle but the rain had prevented that. He looked towards Ida, Belle's second. Ida. She looked at Patrick before her eyes turned to him and he knew he wouldn't like the answer. If Simone isn't concerned about her brother despite not knowing about Belle and the magic she's weaved over Blue, then a day won't kill us. I just hope I don't regret this. We stay until morning, get what we can and then we leave either permanently or to get the others. Martin shut his eyes. Morning and then we go, no later. Hopefully the others will be safe until then under the wards. Okay, let's do it. Simone says as she puts her clothes to the side as they strip down to their underwear as well. Martin does so as well, claiming a stall slightly separated from the others as Simone's presence and the looks she sent him were becoming uncomfortable. Especially when he knew the last time he had been beneath a shower spray Belle had been with him. So do we do a countdown? Patrick asked and Ida started at each of them rushing into their stall and then turning on the water. The hot spray of the water hit his chest and his mind goes to Belle. Only for his mind to be brought back by Ida's surprised squeak. He turns and immediately rolls his eyes when he sees Patrick with his hands at the stall dividers with his briefs pulled down and bouncing his dick at her. Ida being herself responds by throwing a bar of soap at it and watching him fall to his knees. Dumbass. Martin mumbles to himself. Him and continued enjoying her meal but Ida had immediately stopped as had Patrick at that. See any kids around here? They must have grown up or, Patrick began. Or what? Martin cut in. What do you mean? The man, the leader of this place spoke as he walked through a side door to the small dining area. They're right outside playing. He pointed out the large window overlooking the balcony. Martin turned to see two children and his brows furrowed. You're interrupting their meal. We don't use our old clothes any longer. What's the deal this hippie stuff you're wearing? Martin asked. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. Are you some sort of a cult or what? I understand your doubts. I understand your questions too and your distrust towards others. I get it, I felt that too. He's too calm. Martin glanced at Patrick to see he had fully relaxed back into his seat after seeing the two children, but still there were too many shoes. Too many shoes for only two kids. Simone hadn't been concerned at all, merely sat there enjoying herself and smiling at these people. Ida looked at him though with a look of confusion as though she didn't know which was right. I've had that thought in the back of my mind. His hand settled on Simone's shoulder. It wouldn't go away. Who can I trust? Is there anyone out there I can really trust? But we have done away with those doubts here. Those just poof, disappeared. How have you done that? Martin asked him as he did his best not to narrow his eyes. You completely bypassed my question. By melting into one. The man moved to the head of the table. It all boils down to, what do I fear if I'm not here? We are one and we are now. That's all that matters. That was probably the most cultish response you could have given right there. The man chuckles as he looks at Patrick stuffing a piece of bread into his mouth. Is it good? His hand rubbing Patrick's shoulder. It's delicious, Patrick says around a mouthful of bread. Good. Dig in. The leader looks back at Martin and walks to his side as he continues his speech. We have no past, no name, and no gender. It's the end of the world, but we're right here, right now. And that's all that matters. Martin turns away from him to look at his people, his group. You're so full of shit, man. I've never heard of anything so stupid in my life. Enough, Martin. All they're doing is helping us. Simone glares at him, sick of his ungratefulness to the people that saved them. I'm sorry about Martin. Simone tells the woman that had been helping them. He means well, really. He's just an insufferable douche that thinks he knows better when he really knows shit. You know, sometimes people are terrified of the love that exists in this place. She says gently, we're not used to it. Love, you can stay as you want to. Settle down and become one of us. I think we have to move on. I need to find my father, but after that maybe we could come back here. Maybe we could visit and I could introduce my family. Father, Rasmus, Belle. Tonight is our monthly celebration. What does that mean? Once a month, we cook a nice dinner and then we all eat in silence and gratitude. You mustn't miss it, she tells Simone and she smiles. We will be staying for it, definitely. We already agreed we definitely would. The woman takes Simone's hand in her own. She reminds me of Mom. You remind me of my daughter. I do. Simone gave a hesitant smile and received a gentle one in return. Yes. Simone is walking around when she sees Ida limping. Are you all right? Fine. Didn't notice it before with everything happening so quickly last night and then still being worried earlier, but I think I twisted it last night. When you fell over that route leading us here. Yay. I'm pretty sure I made it worse when I twisted it going back to the room. Come, then. We can see if they have a doctor. Simone moved to help her and they found someone who led them to a blonde man. He took them to a room off to the side and had Ida sit while he examined her foot. She tripped over a root leading us here last night. The man shook his head. I'm not interested in what happened in the past, he said as he pressed at the side of Ida's swollen ankle. Motherfucker. The man jumped back in surprise and bumped into an open storage unit, knocking down a container causing its contents to spill onto the floor. Damn it, that hurt, asshole. He cleared his throat. Ida. Simone looked at her, unable to come up with words for the moment. No, it's quite all right. I believe you have a grade 2 ankle sprain. If that scream was anything to go by, you nearly completely tore the ligament. Fortunately, not though, so you won't need surgery. It will heal on its own given that you rest and keep pressure off of it. Unfortunately, we are out of any anti-inflammatory medication. It was as he faced Ida that Simone bent down to pick up what had fallen to the floor and saw it. A tube-like capsule so much like the Dr. Marguerite had. She looked at the man focused on wrapping Ida's ankle and quickly pocketed it before picking up the rest. I think I had an anti-inflammatory in my bag. Would it be possible to get it? Ida glanced at her. Yes, I'll make sure it's brought up. Thanks, Simone says. Once back in the room they had provided the two of them for the night and her bag was in her hands, she waited for Ida to fall into a nap. Simone, she took the tube from her pocket and the one Marguerite had planned to use on Rasmus. Examining them, she found the only difference to be the capsule's labeling, though she couldn't really understand it. The one from Marguerite had a bright red square with an X through it while the other had a blue circle. Looking out the window, she formed an idea. Simone left the room with her bag and began her search for the man then. Finally, she found him and the man that appeared to be the leader of this place as she walked into a room where several people were sat in a meditation circle. I'm sorry, but I really have to know. Who are you? The blonde looked at her but gave no response. Who are you? Are you connected with Apollon? His mouth dropped just slightly and he looked towards his leader. That belongs to the past. This, she held out the tube she's taken from his medical room. You had this. The man agreed. What's in it? A sedative. A sedative. She switched it into her other hand and dug into her bag for the other container, the one from Marguerite. Then how about this one? They're the same. It belonged to a doctor that tried to kill me and my brother. She tells him, showing him the tube, with the red square and bold X on display. Let me see, he said, and his entire demeanor changed as he saw the label. That's something else. Give it to me. Simone moved away, rejecting his order, lifting it up as she did so. I'll take that, he told her with his hand outstretched. No, you won't. She pulled out the needle attachment and put it together. Give it to me. Don't do that. Who put it away? He said nervously. Put it away. Why? Put it away. You can kill us all with that thing. But why? What the hell's inside? Why did you bring it here? The leader asked. Tell me what's in it. She stared at the blonde man who watched her cautiously. Who made these? Simone asked, but had not expected the calm, friendly leader to move forward quickly and grab hold of her hand. Where are they from? Let go of the past. The leader told Simone as he locked eyes with her. I just want to know what's in it. Believe me, you don't want to. Simone looked at him and shook her head as she loosened her grip and he took it from her. He didn't trust them or this place. It was wrong and for some reason the others didn't see it. All they saw was the food. But how did they get it? How long had this place been here? Martin moved through the lower level again. He followed the buzzing sound of a mechanical saw which led him down a hall. He could not see much aside from a woman in an apron in what appeared to be a kitchen carving something as someone else moved about further inside. Stepping forward quietly he was caught by a woman that came from a hall that had been hidden from his view by the shelves that lined the wall. What are you doing here? I'm just looking for the bathroom. He spat out the first thing that came to mind. You're not allowed down here. She stared at him. No. Okay. He stepped back. You have to go back upstairs. Martin did so and went to find the others in the set of rooms they were given. Martin. Simone walked forward once she caught sight of him. Listen. He tried to cut in only for her to continue. There's a guy from Apollon here. What? He stared down at the blonde. There's something they're not telling us. That's what I've been saying. Something weird is going on. Come, he told her. Wait, we can't Jew. Come on, Martin repeated and led Simone down to the kitchen area he had seen before finding her. Walking into the kitchen, he stared. They were just here. What the hell? The entire kitchen was empty of those he had seen down here and whatever they had been doing. They were here a minute ago. Just now. Simone looked at him and then at the spotless kitchen, saying nothing. There's something wrong with this place. I really think we should get out of here. No, yes. He looks at Simone as if she was insane. He's from Apollon. We have to find out why he's here. Maybe he knows my dad. Martin looked away then remembering what Belle had told him. Frederick Anderson had left her to die and while he was going along with this little trip it was more for the fact he wanted to beat the fuck out of the man. He had no intention of killing him as Belle was safe and he had managed to find her but the man sure as fuck hadn't known she would be safe. We have to stay. Martin shook his head at Simone's insistence. We leave in the morning and head back to the others, Simone. Okay, so for those of you who have watched the show this is the gruesome part. I am somewhat graphic on what he finds. Those of you who have not, don't read while eating or at any point planning to. That night, celebratory dinner. Martin had refused to join in the dinner and so only the other three of the group sat with the mansion's residents. 3 long tables with white tablecloths were set in a U-shape and candles were lit rather than using the lights. They sat at the front table where the leader and their guide also sat. The leader stood once the seats were filled. Welcome to this, our traditional monthly celebration. As usual we shall observe absolute silence both to honor the meal and to open up this boundless love that will flow through us from the meal, dissolving us as individuals. We are each other. We are in each other. We are nothing without each other. Now eat. I hope you like it. He moved to sit and then a person from each table moved to serve the food. Meanwhile, Martin was stood in the kitchen once more, leaning forward on the metal island set at its center. I just don't get it. How could they have emptied this place so quickly? He dropped his head and sighed only for his eyes to land on the drain with a speckling of light red drops. Almost like blood someone tried to wash away. It was then he turned his head to look at the hall. His eyes locking onto the alcove where a large metal door was. He walked towards it anxiously. Pulling the door open his breath caught as the blue glow of the light hit him fully. He was frozen in horror by the sight in front of him, by what it meant. The cuts were clean much like one would expect with a mechanical saw much like the one he heard earlier. There in the walk-in freezer hanging by 2 leather strap hooks was a man's torso devoid of head and limbs. Only a half-inch of the neck protruded, the entire lower half carved away leaving an inverted V-shaped carving carrot, the arms gone and the bone, the humerus, the only one he really remembered from his high school anatomy course as the funny bone, had been pulled right from the socket. Only nothing was humorous about this. Finally regaining himself he let the freezer door go and it shut. Taking a breath he immediately lurched forward and vomited. Cannibal Mansion. They had just finished the meat stew and were pleased with their full bellies when a bowl was passed to each person from table to table. Everyone removed what appeared to be a single wrapper shaped into a cone and tied with a small piece of string. It was then that Ida noticed something strange. Every single child had been passed over, only those that looked to be in their mid-teens and older had received it. A feeling of dread filled her as the necklace Belle gave her burned far hotter than it usually did with the way the world was to the point it was nearly unbearable as her hand approached one of the wrappers and she immediately moved her hand to another. Something's wrong. What was in that wrapper that was so dangerous? Belle's magic responded to it. Her eyes watched Patrick as she handed him the bowl and she watched as he tensed before his eyes met hers. He pushed the offending item to the bottom subtly as he removed another. The leader stood then to speak. I hope you all enjoyed the meal. Now it's time to find the next person who will gratify us with their body, thus receiving eternal life. What did he just? Do you understand what he's saying? Patrick looked at the man before turning back to Ida. Did we just eat another person? Ida asked feeling ill as Simone had snapped so hard to look at her where she was seated with a glare on her face. Ida, how could you ask something like that? Simone scolded her as Patrick lurched forward in his seat and began dry heaving as he moved his hand to his mouth and forced himself to vomit the contents of his stomach. The others in the room merely staring on as if there was something wrong with them. The leader walked around to their side of the table, messing Patrick's hair as he passed. It's okay now, Karen. Simone questions the woman who has been their guide during their time here and the woman smiles as she reaches over and takes her hand in her own gently, reminding her so much of her mother. There's no way, just no way. This can't be happening. It's the ultimate love you have been fortunate to experience. Simone moves to stand, ripping her hand away from Karen with a heartbroken expression. Sit down. The leader grasps her shoulder and pushes her back down into her seat. Once you've partaken of the meal, you're part of the community. The one who finds a flower in the wrapper is the chosen one and will come to the basement directly to give their life to us. It was then that Martin made his way through the darkened hallway behind the man and grabbed him. The leader turned to face him, not expecting the blow from Martin's fist that knocked him on his ass. The man quickly stood back up, holding his nose. Stop. Stop it now. The blonde man that had helped Ida earlier appeared with Martin's gun in hand, immediately aiming it at him. Step away. Step away from him. The blonde poked at the air in front of him with the gun aimed at him. Martin knew from the way he held it the man had never shot before, and he couldn't take the risk the man wouldn't start shooting with the others seated at the table in front of him. You can't stop this now. Your friends have to stay here. Martin. Simone called his name in desperation, her eyes not leaving his form despite him not once looking her way. They have to stay until we've found a flower. I'll start. The leader said, his voice somewhat off, likely from the blow to his face. Untying the string and opening the wrapper, the man found nothing within. While noticeable to most, Ida caught the subtle upturned twitch of his lips despite his heavy facial hair, and she knew that despite the random draw he clearly had a way to find out which of the wrappers held a flower. Go ahead. Martin watched in worry as each of them opened the wrappers, unsure if Belle's protection magic would recognize the threat to them without a person meaning them harm specifically. Each of the three opened their wrappers, and the leader frowned at the fact each was empty before straightening his face. Simone's hands shook even as she flattened them against the clothed table. His eyes glancing amongst those sat at the table. One of them should have picked it. His eyes widened minusculely as he took in the one holding the dried white and red flower. I think we found the chosen one. Perhaps they had gotten lucky. Simone looked at the bearded man and followed his eyes. No, she whispered. There in Karen's hand was a small dried flower. Ida and Patrick both recognized it from one of Belle's books that she had shown them and forced them to memorize, which showed poisonous plants, and realized exactly why it was their necklaces reacted so strongly. There in their guide's hand was an oleander flower, one that was fatal and considered amongst the top 10 most common poisons in the world. Even having it touch your bare skin could cause a reaction, especially if one touched the sap it released. Both remembered reading of how the poison of the flower in the woman's hand was so strong it could poison a person who had simply eaten honey made by bees who had digested its nectar. A single leaf of the plant could kill a child if ingested, and yet despite its poisonous nature, people had apparently used it to decorate their homes so much that it actually was a good thing that they had learned to recognize the damn thing on sight because they came across it often. Karen stood and spoke to those in the room without a glance to Simone. I would like to thank all of you because you've given me the opportunity to be one with you. It's a huge honor for me to live on in you. She smiles as speaks as though truly believing the words, and Simone cannot help the utter devastation she feels at that moment despite only knowing the woman for a short while. Thank you. She turns and follows the dark-haired woman who had caught Martin snooping outside the kitchens just earlier that day. Now all has been revealed. You can either go or stay. Do as you please. The leader spoke and the three quickly rose from their seats. But you won't find a better place than this. Fuck that shit, Martin thought to himself. Martin pushes the others forward, not once showing the cannibals his back. They made their way to the way they had entered before, standing at the steps waiting. A small group of the leader, what is probably his inner circle, following shortly after. We want our backpacks and my gun. Even if the magic on it will return it to him, he can't take the risk of them noticing and coming after them. The leader doesn't respond but instead heads back inside while the others remain. Simone pushes past Martin. What was in that syringe? She asks the blonde-haired man. He presses his lips together and visibly gulps. You know something. She presses despite Martin calling her name in warning. You know something. Tell me. She steps closer to him then as the man makes eye contact with her. You know my dad, Frederick Anderson. Yes. He answers, not noticing the leader has returned and stands watching, listening behind him. We did it. We destroyed the world. But it will be better when. The leader grabs his shoulder and he stops. Ida and Martin both see the look on his face and are instantly on edge. Come on, Simone. We have to go. We have to go now. Ida says, grabbing the girl and pulling her once they have their bags. Slowly they make the trek back into the woods, Martin following the comforting pull he feels that will lead him back to his Belle. What now? Patrick asks as they pause to get their flashlights working. It's just another place none of us would be safe. You and Belle got a plan, Martin? Or are we just going on this fucking mission to find the girl's daddy who brought this shit down on all of us? He speaks just low enough that Simone won't hear him from where she hovers a few feet away from them and Ida. Not here, Martin says just as lowly before glancing back at the girl before making eye contact with Ida and him. It's as they get the light working and are about to move on, the blonde man Simone had pressed for information walks into the light from behind the trees. You want to know what's in the syringe? He asks Simone, eyes locked on her form as he holds it out in his hand. I thought it would save the world but instead everyone died. Martin steps back, aiming the assault rifle at the man. The man brings the syringe up and injects himself. No, Simone screams and tries to reach him but Ida grabs hold of her. They watch on as the man froths at the mouth, bloodied spit drooling from his mouth in seconds. His body begins to shake and he falls to his knees as his back arches. Martin pulls the trigger, shooting him in the head, the shot echoing in the woods. Let's get out of this shit zone, he says, looking at the others. We get the others and stop by Apollon first. Simone follows behind them, her mind trying to make sense of it all after picking up the emptied syringe with the linen shirt she had worn upon leaving the mansion and wrapping the shirt around it before once more placing it in her bag. Belladonna's group. She was close, so close she could nearly taste freedom on her tongue. It had taken what seemed like hours to jimmy the lock on the heavy chains and then try to figure out how to maneuver the chains so that they wouldn't rattle too loudly. Only once that was done she had to deal with the fact that there was yet another fucking set of thinner steel chains that were hidden by the larger ones. What the fuck? Thunder continued to rumble overhead and the sky had darkened as she worked at the twisted chains. The bitch had clearly not know what she was doing when she attached the trailer to the truck, then again considering the hard time she was having with it, maybe that had been the plan. She couldn't be that smart, could she? Thunder clapped above her head and lightning flashed across the sky. Shit. Beatrice cursed her luck. She didn't have a choice but to give up for the night as she rushed into the trailer, rain falling minutes later. Beatrice, I was just going to look for you, Lee says softly as she walks out from Belladonna and Martin's room. Beatrice gives a fake smile. I just had to check Old Blue. Seeing the look on Lee's face, she explains. With how often machines have been dying on us, we don't want to risk getting stuck when we really need to get going only for Blue to fail. I didn't know you knew about car mechanics, Lee says with scrunched brows. Beatrice forces herself to laugh. 6 years together and I can still surprise you. She turns away and heads to the other side of the trailer. I guess so, Lee responds, not really sure how to respond. We're going to watch a movie, do you want to come? She asks before biting her lip, hand fussing with the cross on her necklace. No, think I'll head to the bunk room. How's Gene doing? He must be feeling pretty lonely. I think I'll keep him company, Beatrice says as though she and thinking aloud and walks to the room's door. Check. Maybe I could help. Lee's cheeks pinken. And mate, I win today, Belle, and tomorrow when you're still stuck in that bed I'll be driving out of here. I wonder if Martin would stay faithful if the strangers managed to get you. A cruel smirk forms and her tongue comes across her chapped lips at the thought. I can just imagine giving him all the comfort he could ever need. The kind that has my legs wrapped around his waist while he breaks me open on that thick staff. She shivers at the thought. Are you cold? Lee's voice cuts through her thoughts. No, I'm fine. So, looks like Lee isn't coming back. Philip says, feeling awkward. You know I'm actually pretty. He stretches and fakes a yawn. I think I'll just go, he says before rushing out of the room. Sunny quickly rises from her bed in the corner of the little walk-in filled with her toys and makes a whine. Come on, Sunny. The little golden pup rushed out, her polka dot fleece blanket dragged along. Sunny, you traitor, Belle says with a small smile only to get a small bark in return. Enjoy the movie, you too, Philip says, closing the door behind him, and she shakes her head lightly in exasperation before looking at Rasmus, who stands by the bed wide-eyed. Shall we? What? Rasmus' cheeks are pink as he looks at Belle propped up by pillows, the oversized sweater hanging off her shoulder. Alice in Wonderland. Right. He sits at the edge of the bed as she fiddles with the remote. Rasmus, you can get comfortable. You won't hurt me if you move onto the bed, she tells him in a teasing tone and a small smile on plump lips. He moves further up until his back is to the pillows. The movie plays and halfway through she notices that he is still just as tense. Is there something wrong? Yes, no. Rasmus glances at her from the corner of his eyes. I don't want you to hate me. She opens her arm out like she did years ago and he slowly shuffles towards her until his head is laid over her chest, hearing the muffled thump-thump of her heart through her clothing and her soft hand coming down to rub up and down his arm. I promise whatever it is I won't hate you, Rasmus. I doubt I could unless you plan to tell me you got rid of Martin. You didn't, did you? She pulls back and looks down at him with a false stern face and overly pursed lips making him smile. No, he says, shaking his head before looking down and settling against her. Gently he wraps his arms around her, careful of her injured side. He presses his face into the firm softness of her breast, the scent of lavender and cinnamon filling his nose. Talk to me, please. Simone hated me for it. He still remembers it. Martin said it was natural. I'm sure if Martin said it was natural, it is. I always feel that way when I think about you. Rasmus. She says his name lightly as she uses her fingers to brush through his hair softly. My tummy gets warm and down there gets hard and bigger. Belle's eyes widen as she realizes just what he's talking about, but then confusion does too. Rasmus, sweetheart, why do you think Simone hated you for something that's natural? She saw. He sniffles and her arm tightens around him, gently pulling him closer to her. I had a dream about you and I was. Were you touching yourself? He makes a noise of agreement. I promise I'm not mad at you. Can you tell me what happened, sweetheart? Simone, shush, she hit me there. Rasmus cries. It hurt. It hurt so bad, but she kept yelling and hitting. She said I was bad and that if you were there you'd do the same because I was being nasty. That it was wrong. Tears came to her eyes and anger welled inside of her. Simone said if she ever found me doing it again she'd take it off cause I wasn't supposed to touch it and that it was only for sex and I could only do it to have babies when I was married. But I did it again. I did it when I saw you and Martin at the school. I couldn't help it. It hurt so much and my hand touched it before I knew it and it felt good and then the white stuff came out. Martin said it's sperm and that when it goes in a girl it can make babies. Yes, it can. Her cheeks were pink as she listened to the words rushing out. I couldn't help it when it came out. You were on Martin's lap and I could see your. Rasmus' cheeks were flushed pink, his eyes slightly glazed as if daydreaming, and his voice heady. Breasts. She squeaked out. They were bouncing every time he pushed inside you and then you stopped and were kneeling and licking and I kept watching and wanted it to be me and then it happened. It keeps getting hard and I don't know what to do cause Simone will punish me and I didn't want you to hate me. Shish. Rasmus, I don't hate you for finding me attractive enough that I can, you know. Belle wasn't sure how to handle this situation, but at the same time she knew there was no chance in hell she'd be letting Simone anywhere near him without having an eye on her. She wouldn't take the chance that Simone could hurt him further than she already had. It was dawn as she made her way out of the trailer and she knew she would not have long before the others woke up. She grabbed the wrench she'd hidden in the wheel well and quickly got to work. So focused on her treachery, Beatrice didn't notice how several chains she had released had reattached or that she was being watched until it was too late. The sound of leaves rustling went ignored until a snap of a branch too close was heard. Beatrice turned and her breath caught as her eyes went wide. A pack of wolves, wild and starving, made their way out from the cover of darkness the woods had provided. And nice doggies. She took in the sight of the white eyes. They're infected. Her eyes quickly glanced between the pack, growling as they watched her across the road and the half dozen or so feet that lied between her and the RV's unlocked door to the right, or the truck nearby she knew carried a rifle but was likely locked. Shit, she mumbled as her heart raced. She threw the wrench at the wolves, striking one, and made for the RV's door. Help me. The wolves rushed forward, jumping onto her as she threw the RV's door wide open. Beatrice screamed in pain as claws and fangs ripped open her back and side. Eyes wide as standing there in front of her with pursed lips was Belladonna. The click-clack of a rifle being set before the booming sound of shooting echoed in the trailer. She was knocked back as the wolves flew off her from the rounds Donna put in them. She landed hard on the asphalt, bleeding heavily. Donna, Belle, Lee and Rasmus' voices shouted out as they each ran to her side hearing the gun. The few wolves remaining scattered, disappearing back into the woods. Beatrice. Lee moved to go to her, but Bella quickly pulls her back before she can take a single step down. Belle, what? The wolves. She's infected now. Lee's eyes widen and she quickly moves back. No, they weren't sick. They weren't. Why were you even outside this early? You know we are supposed to stay in pairs, or at least tell someone so they can cover you. Beatrice tried to come up with a reason but struggled, the pain overwhelming her. She was going to leave us. What? That's why you didn't come in until it was about to rain. You thought if you got it done before anyone woke up you could leave us here. Now, you reap what you sow. Go before I take care of you myself, traitor. Beatrice struggled to rise as the rifle was cocked and aimed at her. The wolves. Not my problem, bitch. Beatrice struggled to keep her footing as she stumbled, side bleeding heavily. A feeling of dread entered her as she felt herself being watched. No, not watched, hunted. Oh, no. Growling filled the air as she found herself surrounded. No. They launched at her, tearing and feasting. And by the time they would be finished, little would remain. Implied drugging. Martin sat upon the edge of the stone wall overlooking the lake below as the birds chirped in the early morning. The others slept within the old wood and brick cabin they had found the other night. The small home allowing them the freedom to stretch out further than they could within the confines of the trailer. Belle had expanded it as much as she could, but the truth was most of the expansion had gone to storage, walking space, and adding on a bunk room with its own bathroom, while the rest was limited by the massive amount of safety wards she had included. Originally the trailer had only had their bedroom, a bathroom, a living space, and a little corner dedicated to Sunny. It was large enough for just them and possibly a guest sleeping on the couches pull out. It's kind of nice here, he says, throwing a stone at the water as Patrick plops down next to him. Yay. Patrick stares off for a second or two before facing him. What if this is the best place there is? What do you mean? I mean we don't know what's on the other side of the wall. And right now, the zone feels like our place. No way it's my place. Then where? We've been stockpiling food for all of us when we can. It's why Belle always has us looking. For what? She has a place, or well her grandfather did, winter home, I think she said he called it. He gave it to her a couple years ago after fixing it up. Her mother loved it there. Beyond the wall, Martin makes a sound of agreement in response to his question. It's just outside Morgongava. It's supposed to be a small town a few hours drive from Stockholm, or it was before this. That the place you were talking about when we left the cannibals? Patrick grimaces thinking of the place. Yay, it should be more than enough room for all of us. All fenced in with a small greenhouse. All of it layered under her magic. Shit, why are we still here then? What would have been the point with how things are? We hoped we could eventually make our way there, but there wasn't enough food. But now. The bunkers. The last one was almost fully stocked, only missing a couple days worth of rations. The two of them survived down there for 6 years. We won't get anywhere near that on it, but Belle thinks we have at least a year, maybe a year and a half before it runs out if we ration it right. If this next bunker is the same, we'll have more than enough to last, not only figuring a way out of the quarantine zone but settling in there too. If we have to, we'll have enough food to get us through next year while we figure out a way to grow our own food since there's a greenhouse on the property. Then again, if they really did manage to stop it, the outside will likely be as everything was before. Man, I can't even picture that. Hard to imagine going back to those days, huh? I was a nobody. Maybe then, but now you're my second. Martin says with a smirk. Har. If we hadn't been here we would have never met each other. No, probably not, but we did. You can't focus on the past, Patrick. You'll never see what could be waiting right in front of you if you do. That happens and you lose your chance. Martin hints. Chance at what? Martin sighs. He was about to answer before stiffening as a cracking and voices come over the walkie that they'd found in the stranger's bag. The strangers. Martin moves to take out the hollow map. They're getting closer. Leaves rustle nearby and then the snap of a branch breaking under pressure. Shit, what was that? They both rise. Martin readies his rifle as Patrick grabs his pistol from the side holster Belle had conjured him the other night after learning they'd been carrying them in their back pockets. She had reamed him and Ida good at that. Though of blowing their asses off, ensuring they wouldn't do so again. Though in truth Patrick was more worried about Ida's than his own. They watch the path, guns aimed. The seconds pass almost too slowly. What the fuck? From behind the bushes comes a long-haired border collie. Patrick lowers his gun. The dog's bark is low and hoarse. The eyes appear almost entirely white, and what was likely once a healthy sheen of long black and white fur is now lackluster. It's definitely sick. Martin steps forward, a frown on his face, but Patrick stops him before he can shoot. Grabbing a rock, he tosses it at the dog, forcing it to scurry away with a sharp whine. Martin looks at him. I'm just trying not to kill everything, he explains, quickly looking away. Martin smiles and pats him on the back. Setting up the hollow map on the table, they compare their locations with that of the strangers. Okay, they're in Sector 5 now. And they went through 6, 7 and 8 during the night. Martin states. They're closing in on us, aren't they? Belle asks from where Rasmus helps seat her, though he hovers nearby just in case she needs him. We're in Sector 3, 2 sectors over. Martin, if they're already that close to us, then I think it's too risky to go to the next bunker. Simone jumps in. We should head straight for Apollon. His eyes move Belle, Patrick and Ida, each of them subtly shaking their head in the negative. We aren't ready for what we may face there just yet. But we need food. We have to have something to eat, not just now but to make the journey. He says, not telling her about the stockpile they've gathered. Something inside of him screaming at him to keep the information from the short-haired blonde at all cost. But you don't even know if there is any. No, but we have to do a quick search. In and out, all right. Otherwise, we can't make it to Apollon. Ida speaks up, lying but knowing that no one would argue as it was her and Belle's job to ration the food. Fine, Simone mumbles out. This bunker was different. Despite its appearance, they could drive right up to it. Built around it there was a concrete structure that looked incredibly similar to a massive water tower, and the bunker entrance was located right at its center base. The tower was massive enough that they could drive blue right under it and circle its base so that they could drive straight out, all while being covered from the rain. It would provide them an easy exit if they had to leave the bunker for any reason and leave even if it was raining, as blue would be kept dry so long as the wind wasn't strong enough to send it flying their way. Martin's eyes find Ida's for a moment as he drives blue up the dirt path. You feel it too? He asked and got a scowl from his friend. This place freaks me out. We stock and go. What about Simone? She'll ask questions when our bags don't run out of room. Lee could distract her. Ida gives him a look. I know, I heard it when I said it. Lee's too sweet, besides she'll probably want to stay in the RV with Philip. I swear that man plans on adopting us all. Martin lets out a laugh before responding. Probably, but not Simone. Ida rolls her eyes. That girl could drive a nun to murder. She says as he drives blue around the base and turned it around so they're facing the path they'd just driven up, with the RV door just steps from the bunker's entrance. Ida turns to him after she steps out. Are nuns even still around? Bunker communal area. The bunker was used. Papers and water bottles scattered about. Children's drawing covered the wall and at least half the papers thrown about. Simone looked around as the others began looking for supplies. We need to leave, Simone says and turns to Patrick, who is eating a nutrition bar, as he searches the cupboards and begins taking things down. It's a family, Patrick. So what? He questions before taking another bite and leaning back against the counter. Should have known she would start something. She was too quiet on the drive up here. We can't just eat their food. Why not? Because they'll starve to death. Patrick just stares at her a moment before standing straight and turning his head side to side. I don't see anyone but is here, so that's not my problem. They left. Patrick tells her. What's going on? Martin says, walking in after raiding the storage area and packing the few months' worth of food that was there in his bag. Ida walks in behind him after catching sight of Bella pointing something out to Rasmus in the med bay area, likely teaching him what to look for. Of course it's a problem. Simone's voice pitches. Suddenly we can't eat their food. Patrick tells Martin. Why not? They have children. Look for yourself. Look at the drawings. They'll starve when they come back. I wouldn't count on that. Belladonna says as she walks into the room, frowning and her eyes hard. Rasmus is just behind her, his eyes moving to every corner as if he expects to be attacked at any moment. Look at this. She hands a tablet similar to the ones they've seen in the other bunkers that are used as command centers. Moments earlier, med bay. What you want to do is look for things that we're not only low on but that could come in handy or be multi-purposed. Like what? Well, duct tape for one, when there isn't medical tape. There's also honey. Honey. Rasmus' lips upturned despite his brows furrowing in confusion. How? For one, it practically lasts forever so long as it's stored properly, and it's hard for bacteria to grow in. It's good for making some food taste better, making soaps, and it can be used as a medicine. How can honey be medicine? Certain chemicals in it kills bacteria and fungi. So it's good for things like burns, wounds, swelling from inflammation, or coughs. It can also speed healing up. Doesn't mean it won't hurt though. I burnt the palm of my hand and my fingers while I was straightening my hair once because I got distracted. I ended up coating my palm and the burnt part of my fingers in it and wrapped it. It was pretty painful, especially with the blisters since it stings, but my hand was almost completely back to normal within a week or two. Really? He looked at her wide-eyed. She hummed in agreement as she watched his hand push against some papers on the counter as he leaned against it to reach into the back of the upper cabinet. What is that? What? She points out what caught her eyes, a tablet that was hidden underneath the papers thrown over it. It's just the command control tablet. Pass it here, maybe we can find out when the people that were here left. He hands it to her and as she turns the screen on, it opens to a multitude of videos, each selection showing a different face on every page. As she skimmed the pages, she realized there had to be hundreds, each one only being a few minutes long at the most. Her finger presses against one in the center of the screen. Woman's voice. Let me go. Let me go. Please, I'll do anything. Just let me go. Please, please. Rasmus moves to her side and they watch. They watch as the woman is strapped down to the medical recliner. She begs the man to release her. She begs him not to inject her with something. That looks like the same needle that Dr. Marguerite planned to give me. Rasmus says lowly as he balls his hands into fists. Woman's voice. Please, please, no, no. He presses it to the woman's neck and injects it despite her protests and struggling to get loose. Oh my god. Belladonna whispers as the woman in the video begins spews bile within the few seconds the man uses to move away from her. The video ends. Bunker communal area. Simone takes the tablet Donna holds out and plays the most recent video that's displayed, one marked as happening a week ago while the others watch behind her. A man's voice is heard first. Doctor. Test subject 451, male, fit, 37 years old, injected with 20 milliliters. Girl. What's going on? A little girl's voice come across and the man turns around to show a girl no older than 8 at the most had walked into the room. Doctor. Sweetie, I told you to wait out there, didn't I? Where's your seal? Is it in the bedroom? Is it sleeping in there? You know what, I think he's awake in there. The man speaks lightly to her, but it is clear he is frustrated. Girl, I can't hear anything. The little girl says back as she looks at the man strapped down and then back to the doctor. Doctor, can't you? I'm sure I hear it calling for you. Hurry back to him. I think he's hungry. The girl runs out of the room and the man moves around to the far side of the recliner. Doctor, look that way. He commands the man, who complies almost robotically. The doctor places the injector at his neck and injects. Doctor, the patient is not showing any immediate signs of illness. Unknown, give me a visual from your end. The voice is incredibly familiar to Belladonna, and then a translucent box appears showing a gray hair man that is just as familiar. She glances to Rasmus, catching his wide eyes that look to her in such horror and anger that she can feel her own heart breaking for the boy that once looked up to his father as his hero. The man strapped down speaks, his head turning to face the doctor as the blank look he previously had fades away into confusion. Man strapped down. What's going on? Frederick Anderson. I see you. Is he immune? What? Simone whispers as she watches the video and takes in the sight of her father in the small translucent box in the corner of the video. Doctor. There's no reaction. No spasms. No, wait. Here they come. Frederick Anderson can be seen pinching the bridge of his nose as the man that was strapped down begins convulsing. He vomits on himself, and the little girl from before can be seen walking forward, watching on in fear. Girl. Dad. Frederick Anderson. Do you have more subjects? Doctor. Yes, a girl. 8 years old. The doctor says almost hesitantly as the girl continues to scream for her dad, the man that is dying in front of her. What the fuck is this shit? Ida says, horrified for the poor girl. Patrick stays silent but grips Ida's hand both for and to give support. Simone watches on blankly while Rasmus moves away quickly and vomits in the sink. Tears trail down Belladonna's face and Martin turns her away, wrapping his arms around her despite his eyes not being able to look away. Frederick Anderson. Are there any shots left? Doctor. Yes, but, Frederick Anderson. Proceed. Doctor. Yay. Copy that. Girl. Don't. Let me go. Dad. Belladonna sobs at the girl's screams. She flashbacks to the Dom. Sirius had been just within her reach after dodging a Nevada sent from Bellatrix when he was accidentally hit with a stupefy that Ron had cast. The spell sent him falling back into the Veil of Death. Dumbledore ordered Remus to grab her, and just like that, Sirius slipped through her fingers, literally. If not for Remus grabbing her and pulling her away, Sirius' fingers wouldn't have slipped out from hers. Their fingers sliding against each other as she reached out to grab hold of him, only to be pulled away. If not for Dumbledore's need to keep her in the dark, they wouldn't have been there in the first place, because she would have known it was a trap from the start. If not for Ron's envy, the two-way mirror Sirius gifted her would never have been broken, and she could have made sure he was safe. If not for Ron's greed and lust, her mind would not have been addled by the immortential-laced treacle tarts. No, let me go. Sirius. She screamed, her hands still outstretched as he disappeared into the veil, poison green eyes locked onto the frightened molten silver wide eyes of her godfather. We need to get out of here. If we stay here, we'll be next. Patrick's voice cuts through the fog, snapping her back to reality. We won't, because we're leaving now. Martin's rubs his hands up and down Donna's back in comfort. To Apollon, he questions, and Martin pauses at that, remembering that they'd told the Anderson siblings that they would take them. They can't still want to go there, can they? Patrick, they're looking for a cure. Simone says, and Martin closes his eyes momentarily. There's no fucking way I'm taking Belladonna anywhere near that place. They're injecting people with the virus. Patrick tells her, they're looking for a cure. Simone repeats, but Belladonna can't helping wondering who it is she's really trying to convince, the more herself. You can't honestly believe that. Ida scoffs at the girl's ignorance. They killed that little girl. She was 8, Simone. And they killed her father, and then they killed her. It's about immunity. That's why they're injecting it. All I see is a man killing another man, and then, Patrick says. I don't want to talk about it, Patrick. Simone cuts him off. That's too bad, because I do. Rasmus says. You know who that was. You know who the man who ordered that doctor to kill that little girl was. Rasmus, shut up. Simone yells. It's our father. Stop it. Simone shouts at him. He's a monster. Rasmus tells her. Shut up. She yells as her hand moves to smack him across the face. Belladonna grabs her shoulder, stopping her, and Simone turns around, her hand coming at her instead. Belladonna grasps her wrists before bringing her own arm back and punching her in the face. Simone collapses to the floor. Don't you ever put your hands on him.